Game one ended up being not about Barry, but about Benito. It was Benito Santiago who stole the show, and the Giants stole game one. But game two, it was Kevin Millwood. 6 strong innings, and the Braves got right back in this thing. So as the two teams take the field today, it is all tied in the best of 5. It is 1 game apiece between Atlanta and the San Francisco Giants. Josh Lewin along with Steve Lyons, and welcome to our coverage here today of the National League Division Series. It is Greg Maddux, and it is the postseason.
I'll tell you what, 10-13 lifetime in the postseason for Greg Maddux. 29 career starts to Jason Schmidt's first appearance in the postseason. But we talked a lot about the fact that this series is going to be about the pitchers being able to expand the strike zone. Glavine could not do it. Kirk Reeder could not do it. Maddux pitches very much similar to those styles, trying to use both sides of the plate, try to expand that zone. We'll see if he's able to do it today.
You saw the note, Maddux has won just 1 of his last 9 postseason starts. You never hear anybody abuse Greg Maddux because of that. All the abuse seems to be reserved for Barry Bonds.
And I am so tired of hearing about Barry Bonds is not a clutch performer, or he's not a great player in the postseason. In game 2, this was a mammoth shot against Smoltz, but Smoltz told me after the game that he's never given up a more meaningless home run. We know we're going to see confrontations between these two guys before this series is over again, if in fact the Braves are going to go on to win ball games.
Maybe that home run jump-starts Barry Bonds, gets everybody off his back, and maybe the Giants take a 2-1 series lead today. We'll get it going in just a moment.
Program, San Francisco Giants, Atlanta Braves, coming up on Fox.
The Division Series on Fox, brought to you by Radio Shack, official sponsor of Major League Baseball. By MasterCard, there are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. And by Subway, fresh-made sandwiches on fresh-baked bread. Subway, eat fresh. A battle of the National League's top 2 pitching staffs at the toughest hitters park in the circuit. Barry Bonds does have 1 home run in this series so far. It was a monster shot off John Smoltz in game 2. The starting lineup for the Atlanta Braves today. And again, this series tied 1-1. It is a best of 5. It goes for Carl and Julio, not Matt Franco at first. Gary Sheffield starts the fun. Chipper and Andrew Jones after that. Vinny Castilla locked in again. Keith Lockhart, not Mark DeRosa at second base. And we'll talk a lot later about why it's Blanco and not Javi Lopez catching for Greg Maddux today. But first things first, Steve Lyons, you've got Jason Schmidt, a 1-time Atlanta Brave, out there on the mound.
Making his first postseason appearance. This is the guy who used to play with the Braves organization. I talked to Chipper Jones before the game. He says, hey, he's a different pitcher right now than he was with us. A lot more confidence and a better breaking ball. But you're going to see a lot of fastballs from Jason Schmidt. Throws hard in the low 90s, low to mid 90s. Likes to ride it up in the strike zone. His velocity is the key. If he's in the mid 90s, he's going to be fine. If he's in the lower 90s or below, he's going to be in trouble. Needs to stay focused, because here's a guy who's very emotional. A lot of talk about the fact that he didn't want to pitch in Atlanta against his former team. Also, his mother, very ill as well, and he's got to be tough when you go out there thinking about family members and having to try to do a job that he's doing out there right now.
You talk about a Chamber of Commerce afternoon. 70 degrees. They are parked out in McCovey Cove waiting for splashdown. They will not get it from switch hitting Rafael Furcal. We are confident about that. But he is the catalyst to top the order. And he takes the strike. Greg Maddux brought Jason Schmidt into his home when Schmidt first got to the major leagues 7 years ago. Schmidt, we mentioned, originally property of the Braves, and when he first made the major leagues, he had nowhere else to stay, Psycho. Greg Maddux took him in as a boarder. Jason Schmidt's first week in the major leagues was spent sleeping at the house of Maddux.
He said he had so much fun, too, learning from a guy who he considers to be a master of the game of pitching. He said, but for a while, it took me a long time to understand what he was saying to me. He's giving me all these pearls, but until I got out there and experienced things for myself, I didn't know what he was talking about.
Well, having raided at Maddox's fridge several years ago, he now faces off with him today. Schmidt, a 13-game winner during the regular season. Got him. Nice start for Jason Schmidt. Julio Franco will bat next as we meet and greet the San Francisco Giant defense. And on the right side, Jeff Kent and J.T. Snow, born 2 weeks apart from each other in 1968. They are solid on the right side. David Bell, Rich Aurelia at third and at short.
Now, that was the big breaking ball that Chipper Jones was talking about. He said he didn't have that pitch and wasn't able to use it effectively when he was with the Braves, and he said he got worse when he was with Pittsburgh. Look out.
Julio Franco geared up for the fastball, did not get it, has to go retrieve the bat.
Get him some pine tar for that thing. Look out, it's going to come right into your living room there. That thing almost hit me.
Jason Schmidt very strong down the stretch, Steve. He was 7-3, an ERA of 3.2 in August and September. This guy walked into Yankee Stadium 3 months ago, struck out 13. Inside corner, 0-2.
Josh, when you think about these two pitching staffs, in all of them, in the starting staff, as we look at this breaking ball of Franco, was dropping it right in there. Schmidt, for the Giants, is really the only guy that throws real hard. Livan Hernandez used to, doesn't throw quite as hard as he did before. And Millwood for the Braves are the only two power pitchers on both staffs as far as the starting staffs are concerned. The rest of the guys are the guys that try to nibble a little bit, work both sides of the plate. But as we talked about in the open with Schmidt, he's going to come right at you with hard, high fastballs, mix in a few breaking balls to keep you off balance.
Still 2 strikes to count to Julio Franco. And Jason Schmidt, too, I think, Steve, attempting to take to the lesson that nice and easy gets it done. Benito Santiago has impressed upon him. Sometimes you got to give it the old que sera, sera, not wind yourself too tight.
A little high fastball right here and kiss Franco goodbye.
Boy, if he can find a way to hum a little Doris Day today, he is one relaxed right-hander. Because after Franco, you load up with Sheffield, then Chipper and Andrew Jones. Ron Kulpa sends that down and in. Ron Kulpa, by the way, your home plate umpire today. What a 34th birthday present for him. It's his first playoff home plate assignment. And he's the one that's got to discern between the balls and strikes today. Greg Maddux, as you talked about, Steve, maybe more than even Jason Schmidt needs to know early he's got that welcoming outside corner.
They talk to both sides, and they both agree that Kulpa's a very capable umpire behind the plate and has done a good job since he's been in the big leagues.
No swing, 3-2. Happy birthday, Ron Kulpa.
Boy, outside of Kulpa, you're talking about a veteran staff there as far as the umpires are concerned anyway. Some guys with some big league time under their belts. And a few pizzas in a few cases, too.
Some belts are larger than others. That's true. 3-2. Is smoked in the right center. That's going to drop. It is speared by Sanders. He will hustle it back in. Franco is held to a single. Now remember, there was a 2-strike pitch that was borderline. Franco got the call. He comes right back and he hammers it into right center field.
Well, this is classic Julio Franco, going to take the ball the other way, but give the Giants some credit defensively here, where this ball is in this gap. Could easily got through the gap for a double or potential triple way back in that 421 corner here in Pac Bell Park. But because they know that Franco's going to hit the ball in this area, they had that gap bunched down a little bit and held Franco to a single there instead of a potential triple.
The familiar bat wiggle of Gary Sheffield. 1 for 8 in the series so far is Sheffield. And Steve, when critics point to the fact that Atlanta has won just one World Series during this run of first place finishes, maybe the single biggest wart they can point to is Atlanta's lack of offense. The addition of Sheffield was supposed to change all that this year. Now that we're in the postseason, here's a real test to see if it is so.
There's no question. We talked about that in Game 2 about how the organization does feel like they should have won more than just one World Championship when you have 11 consecutive divisionals. Sheffield is the guy that can turn that around for you. Had some nagging injuries this year, but still banged out 25 homers.
Boy, did that really say 97 from Jason Schmidt.
And that's what we talked about, velocity. If he is in that area, and talked to Chipper Jones, he said, when this guy throws that hard and then mixes in a better confident curveball and changeup, we could be looking at a long afternoon.
In the air, left center, pretty well struck. It goes back to the wall. Barry Bonds will make the play. And that is something that Bonds and Sheffield can talk about during the offseason, during their workouts together. Two very close friends, and it's Sheffield who flies deep to Bonds.
This is where velocity gets it for you. If you try to throw that pitch up here and you're not throwing 98 miles an hour, if you get it down in that area and you don't have the giddy up on it, Sheffield puts that thing in the seat somewhere. Maybe hits it all the way into the baseball glove that's past the left field fence. But when you're throwing 97, 98, it's so hard to get on top of that pitch.
And remember, Psycho, Pac Bell Park yielded only 114 home runs this year. That is the least in a major league ballpark in the last 9 years. This park is home to Barry Bonds. Nice jump and an easy stolen base for Julio Franco with Chipper Jones at the plate.
Great heads-up move by Franco. Still can run a little bit. Schmidt didn't pay any attention to him. There's 2 outs. Perfect time to steal a base, because if you get thrown out, you lead off the next inning with Chipper. Now you give him a chance to drive in a run with a guy in scoring position. Not even a throw there. Nobody. And I think that's why Santiago's going out there right now saying, hey, you can't just one-look everybody. You got to make sure you give me a chance to throw somebody out.
And scoring position for one of the few at this field today, Steve, that doesn't seem scared off by the whole mystique of Pac Bell Park. Chipper Jones has always creamed the ball here. As a look at the Twins. Final over the A's today, 11-2.
What a series that has been and will continue to be.
Well, you're going to have some serious traffic issues in the Bay Area tomorrow. You got the A's, you got the Giants, you got the 49ers all going on. Down too low, 3-0. Now, pitching carefully to Chipper Jones, probably a fairly decent idea. You got first base open. The man on deck, the other Jones, is 1 out of 17 lifetime against Jason Schmidt.
They're going to put him on anyway. Chipper has owned Schmidt in the past, but he said, boy, a lot of those at-bats came when he was in Pittsburgh and struggled. He said, this guy has been a different guy over the last 2 seasons. I haven't hit him nearly as well.
Dusty Baker says we're not going to let Chipper be the one that gives Atlanta the early lead. Andrew Jones will be challenged to do just that for Atlanta right now. And Andrew Jones hit .359 in September, Steve, his best month of the year by far. Now he needs to spill some of that September in October. First one's a good one. Outside corner, says Ron Kulpa.
Andrew can turn around a high fastball as good as anybody in that Braves lineup.
We have already seen, though, with the Sheffield blast to left. Now, it's just not easy to walk into the belly of the beast here. Baseballs that might take off, get out at other ballparks do not get out to left and left center at Pac Bell Park. Outside edge.
And I just think that that makes the 46 home runs that Bonds hit this year and the 73 home runs that he hit last year that much more impressive, because this ballpark plays huge.
Smothered at third by Bell. Inning over. 2 left. No score. Gold Star defensive play by David Bell keeps this thing scoreless in the first.
From the left field camera, saves a run right here with tremendous range to his left. I want to show you how he makes this play. Made only 12 errors all season, but watch this foot cross over the other one. Didn't move his left foot first, moved his right foot first, crossed over. That's the quickest way you're going to get to that ball. Gloves it, gets up, squares himself. Forget about it. Saved a run right there. Just 12 errors all season long.
And Psycho, a quick look at the starting lineup for the San Francisco Giants. Lofton, Aurelia, and Kent. And yes, of course, Barry Bonds batting cleanup. Santiago, Snow and Sanders, David Bell, and Jason Schmidt. And Greg Maddux on the mound. He finished the year strong, winning his final 3 starts by scores of 2-1, 4-1, and 3-1.
Once again, another outstanding season. A couple injuries to Maddux this year. Had the bad hamstring, still 16-6. Great ERA. He has been the master on the mound for so many years during the regular season. We talked a little bit about his postseason struggles. He pitches backwards. He likes to have you on a hitter's count where he can throw a changeup or a breaking ball. Doesn't mind being behind the count and all. But this year, if he misses out over the plate, and that's hurt him.
Lofton dumps the bunt, and he's going to reach.
Vinny Castilla is another one of those guys that had a great year at third base. I don't think he had any intention of throwing this ball anyway. He's going to stick that thing in his back pocket. You got Lofton running down the line. He's playing him to take away the bunt, and he still bunts on it. Tremendous placement of the bunt right there by Lofton. If his legs are feeling good, you will see him run today.
Remember, in his first stint in Cleveland, every time Kenny Lofton batted, the loudspeakers would belt out a little Naughty by Nature, Feel Me Flow, Here We Go. And that is the perfect song to sum up Kenny Lofton's game. He will get things started for San Francisco.
He's done a great job for this organization since he's been over here. I think when they made that deal, a lot of people were saying, well, maybe he's past his prime, both running the bases and defensively. But boy, did he do a job for this organization, especially late in the year and headed into the playoffs.
Strike one to Rich Aurelia. And Psycho, you touched on it, the dirty little secret about the Braves and Greg Maddux. For all of Maddox's Hall of Fame credentials, his postseason record the last 5 years, 4 wins against 9 losses. Barry Bonds can't go to the bathroom without hearing about his postseason issues, but you seldom hear any talk about Greg Maddux.
I think it just goes back to what we've been harping on since this series started. Maddux hits corners. Everybody knows about the reputation of Maddux and Glavine being masters at being able to hit the outside corner, move the ball around. and that they get a bigger strike zone than maybe anybody else in the league. In the playoffs, that squeezes back down. Makes it much more difficult for a finesse pitcher to get the calls that he wants. Whereas you look at a guy like Jason Schmidt, you look at a guy like Millwood, a little bit more of a power guy, they're going to come at you harder than Glavine and Maddux ever will.
And let's face it, Greg Maddux is still the genuine article. One of 2 men ever to win 15 games or more in 15 consecutive seasons.
Who's the other guy?
Oh, the guy named Cy Young. What did he ever do? A little bobble. And the only play to first anyway. Rich Aurelia's out. Jeff Kent is coming up. We go to Jeannie Velasco at our Fox Network Center in L.A.
Hi, Josh. Believe in the power of the Homer Hankey. Facing elimination, the Twins trailing Oakland 2-zip early, scored 7 in the bottom of the 4th to blow it open. The Contraction Kids have forced a Game 5. Right now, scheduled matchup, Brad Radke versus Mark Mulder by the Bay.
Jeannie, thank you very much. Obviously, we'll keep you current on what's happening between the Angels and the Yankees today, too. That one's got the potential of a full 5 games as well.
I don't know that I've ever seen a better postseason than what we saw last year, but already so far this season with the competition within each divisional series is really shaping up to be some pretty great baseball.
Maddux pours it in. Jeff Kent behind 0-1. Barry Bonds now hitting behind Jeff Kent instead of the other way around. That switch was made in late June. Good call, Dusty.
Really got Kent going and really didn't affect Bonds too much.
That's the other thing you hear so much talk about, Steve, that Bonds and Kent don't necessarily get along, but I guess there's no law that says 2-star teammates have to love each other.
And plus, there's no questioning their respect for each other on the field.
I think the bottom line is they're just 2 very different individuals.
Barry Bonds came out recently and said this organization better sign Jeff Kent. He went on to say after that, or someone like him. But if you look at Kent's numbers, not too many other guys out there like him. 313, 37 homers, a career high, and 108 RBIs.
Ripped into left field. San Francisco will take the lead. First base will be open for Bonds because Kent has a double.
We saw Bonds get a homer in Game 2. That might get him going. This is the first RBI of the series for Jeff Kent. That may get him going. And you know they're not going to pitch to Barry Bonds now with the base open.
68 intentional walks during the regular season. That was a record by a bunch. That's more than 24 teams had. Barry had 68 all by himself. And as they put him on, Steve, let me ask you this. I mean, you hear the whole thing about don't let Bonds beat you. And to the Braves' credit, they had pitched to him in the first 2 games, really without a thought about it. But is the lack of pitching to Barry Bonds really that much different than a football team kicking or punting away from the league's most dangerous return man?
I think if you ask Dusty Baker that question, he'll tell you that for the integrity of the game, they have to pitch to him sooner or later. But if you're playing against Barry Bonds and you're Bobby Cox, he's the one guy in that lineup, and there are a couple other guys that can beat you, and there's 9 guys can beat you, but he's the guy that you're not going to let beat your ball club, and you do anything you can to make sure that he doesn't.
And the domino that gets kicked over is that Benito Santiago ends up with the RBI opportunities that Barry is not getting. Here's another. Jumping away, it's 1-0.
The thing about Benito, too, is he loves this situation. He loves taking it personally, feeling like you're walking someone to get to me. He has made them pay. And look at the numbers against Maddux. The only other guy ahead of Santiago is Bonds.
Really, in both of these batting orders so far in this series, Steve, one of the storylines that's developed is that with all the attention being paid to the guys in the middle of the order, the guys towards the bottom have been absolutely getting it done.
We talked about some of the keys to this series, and I believe that's it for the Giants. We talked about the pitchers having to be able to expand the strike zone, and for the hitters, Dusty will tell you, sure, I need the guys on in front of Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent so that there can be some damage done. But it is the guys, JT Snow, Reggie Sanders, Benito Santiago, behind these guys that have to come through, and they end up being heroes in series if they do, because they have so many more opportunities.
With Kent on the move to third, they get the tag down, and the throw across, it's an unlikely double play. How about that? Jeff Kent was in motion second to third, and he ends up getting tagged out as Castilla turns two. Underway in the second inning, Vinny Castilla was just involved in a pretty bizarre double play. To end the bottom of the first inning, the Giants had taken the lead 1-0. But with one out, two on, check it out.
One of the strangest double plays I've ever seen, with Kent trying to steal the base. He makes the play, goes on to first. May not have tagged Kent right there, but that's one of those in the neighborhood. If you're close enough to be out, you're going to be out. You see Castilla covering the bag, little sweep tag, you get him. Might have been worried that if he tagged him too hard, he would have lost the ball out of his glove. Kind of had a little snow cone issue going on there.
Couple of foul balls back this way from Castilla, who probably is still trying to figure out exactly what it was he just saw.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with an incoming runner, a ball batted in play. That was not a throw from the catcher. That was a batted ball.
Bullet, too, by Santiago. Now, this is one of those guys where you might want to bounce a curveball instead of trying to go high fastball. There it is.
Vinny Castilla down on strikes. 2 strikeouts for Schmidt so far today.
Schmidt's a high fastball hitter with a decent curveball. Castilla is a great high fastball hitter. Bounce the curveball when you have 2 strikes on him. Try to get him to chase that, because that's what Castilla has been doing lately, chasing bad pitches out of the strike zone.
At the knees of Keith Lockhart, who gets a start today, Bobby Cox tells us, because he's got a little bit of a positive history against Jason Schmidt. 4 out of 13. Mark DeRosa had a very strong effort at second base in game 2, but he's on the bench.
Plus, Lockhart's the best defensive second baseman he's got on the team. Likes his range, likes his good hands over there.
Pop-up. Benito Santiago's had some adventures with pop-ups in this series. We invite you to vote now using PCS Vision from Sprint, or log on to foxsports.com. You virtual managers. Well, the umpires would be loving that, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't get second-guessed enough by us. And all the guys sitting in their armchairs right now with a bag of chips and a cold one.
Bag of chips. 1-2. Got him. Jason Schmidt is the leading strikeout artist for the San Francisco Giants, and he paints up a couple here in the second inning.
Well, Chipper Jones talked about it before the game. He says so much more confidence in that breaking ball. That thing is breaking sharp. Look at the overhand movement of it, dropping off of a table, and when you mix that in with a 95 to 98 mile-an-hour fastball, that gets really filthy on the other hitters. Lockhart shaking his head saying, I'll get him next time. Maybe.
Henry Blanco, the batter now. Henry Blanco, the personal catcher of the man on deck, Greg Maddux. It has been 143 starts since Javi Lopez has caught Greg Maddux instead of somebody else.
Well, we asked Bobby Cox about that whole personal catcher type of a thing that you see on some ball clubs now.
Boy, 97 mile an hour smoke
And he said, you know, he didn't care. Charlie O'Brien used to do that. He caught Maddox when he was in this organization. We go back as far as Tim McCarver, who really kind of started it with Bob Gibson. But, you know, that was before the modern era of baseball. That was a long, 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 long time ago. We're talking about guys that have played now.
Well, Maddox in that game that Lopez started allowed 4 first-inning runs in Montreal. And nobody will discuss it, but I got to think, Psycho, that after a 4-run first, it might have been that Maddox came to the dugout and said, that's it. I'm not working with this guy.
I was actually surprised what Bobby Cox said. I thought he'd be more one of those guys that says, geez, I wish I had a catcher that can run out there and catch every day regardless of who's pitching. But he was sensitive to the pitcher's feelings.
A floater into left field off the glove of Aurelia. And his Bobby Cox gets second-guessed about shelving the hot bat of Lopez for the lighter bat of Blanco. It is Blanco with a base hit.
There's where the sun comes into play a little bit here on a day game. Aurelia hustling out there all the way. A little over-the-shoulder catch just off the fingertips of his glove. It wasn't like he alligator armed that one. He had the extension out there and just couldn't quite haul it in on the run. Jerry Rice would have made the catch. But Aurelia doesn't have any stickum on the end of that glove.
Well, here's a person-to-person showdown now. Schmidt and Maddox, the two roomies. And Greg Maddox trying to downplay it when we talked to him about it yesterday, saying, look, I had the guy over. He didn't have a place to stay. Yeah, we stayed up watching some ball games. Yeah, we shared some of those chips that you were talking about, Psycho, but it's not like I taught him anything that he didn't already know about pitching.
Well, that's a big fat lie, because you can just hang out with Maddox and learn some stuff, and that's what young pitchers like to do. Maddox has the ability and the knowledge of the game, much like Tom Glavine on his staff, to help guys out without even knowing that he's doing it. Some of the younger pitchers come and sit down next to him and just listen to him talk about the game. He's just talking baseball, but he doesn't realize that he's teaching guys what he knows about the game.
Fastballs at 97 and 95 miles per hour. Tenant to landlord.
There you go. I talked to Dwayne Piper before the ball game. He was the announcer of the San Francisco Giants on a daily basis during the season. And that's what he said about Schmidt. He loves to run the fastball up in the zone, but he'll get hammered if he doesn't have his good one. Today he does.
Thanks for letting me stay at your pad. Sorry to have to strike you out. 4 strikeouts for Jason Schmidt. It is still 1-0. The Division Series on Fox brought to you by WebMD, the place America comes for healthcare answers. By Energizer, do you have the bunny inside? And by GMC, we are a professional grade. Anybody want to drop one in the drink today? McCovey Cove, an inviting target, but as we've talked about, Steve Lyons, Pac Bell Park has been a stingy venue in terms of the home run ball.
And no one around here seems to mind too much about that, because this is one of the premier places to do a ball game.
J.T. Snow bops it into right center. Base hit. J.T. Snow is coming on, Steve Lyons.
He has been a different player. Certainly in this playoffs, they can't get him out of the lineup here. We've done plenty of games where JT couldn't get in the lineup. He hits this one with the wrong half of the bat, but he'll take 100 of them. That one gets down in on his hands a little bit. Nice swing. Ball just ran in on his hands a little bit, as Maddox will do to many lefties. He just fisted it out there for a base hit.
And the storyline continues. Both teams' bottom feeders have provided most of the punch in this series. That is a 4th hit for J.T. Snow. Sanders, a lot of first ball swinging here. Reggie Sanders doubled up. Two pitches, one base runner, but now two outs and nobody on.
Well, Bobby Cox put Keith Lockhart in the game because he likes his defense. Look how quickly he jump pivots, makes a perfect feed over to Furcal, and Furcal has a cannon for an arm. Maybe the best in the league. Pat Corrales calls him the best defensive shortstop in baseball right now, and that's saying quite a bit. For the people that don't get to see Rafi play on an everyday basis, kid has some skills. Of course, I don't know how much of a kid he is anymore. His visa problem said that he was 3 years older than he was telling everybody, right? He went from 21 to 24. He gained like 3 years of experience in a heartbeat.
Now you get 3 extra birthday cakes all at once.
Yeah. Get to collect his pension a little bit earlier. There is Pat Corrales.
Another one of the themes that's developed here, Steve. The first pitch swinging. There's a second pitch drive. Only to the warning track, though, David Bell. As part of a 4-pitch second inning. That's it. And it's still 1-0. Whereas Jason Schmidt has thrown at least 4 pitches to every batter he's faced today so far. Greg Maddux needed only 4 pitches to knife through that bottom of the second inning, Steve Lyons. And here it is, already into the third, still 1-0 Giants.
Getting toweled off in the dugout there by the trainer. I'd like to hear that conversation. Keep your jab up, stick and move, stick and move.
Schmidt sporting one outside. The count evens up to Rafael Furcal. But kind of interesting, though, Syke, I think, to see the game plan that Dusty Baker and the San Francisco Giants have adhered to so far against Maddux. And you see a lot of teams go at it this way. You talk about the boxing metaphor. Land that first punch against Greg Maddux, that the first pitch might be the best one you get to hit.
Dusty talked to us earlier today saying, don't try to think with Greg Maddux. The deeper in the count you get, the tougher he's going to be on you.
Furcal knocks one towards the left field corner. Barry Bonds cannot get it. And Rafael Furcal is to second. He's trying for 3. Belly flopping in. He has got a triple. And that's the other storyline that we continue to talk about. While the pitchers have eyeballed the Tigers and the Elephants, the Mice have been kicking them right in the shins in this series.
Bonds looks like he has a funny little step there out there in the outfield, like he slipped just a little bit right there, then couldn't quite get to it. But this is amazing. Bonds with just a little slip right there, but nobody gets a triple when they hit the ball down the left field line. Look at how fast Rafael Furcal can run. Right now he knows he's got a shot, and now there's no stopping him. When was the last time you saw a guy get a triple down the left field line? Just doesn't happen.
Seemed like a very innocent play. Ball off the bat, you're thinking, all right, if it drops, it's 1, maybe 2 bases.
Ball gets by Bonds right there, and then in his haste to turn around and get it, he slips a little bit right there, but it didn't take him a split second to get back up and get after this ball. And Furcal just keeps on going. That's flying.
Infield is back. Franco serves it to the net.
Guys, Rafael Furcal stole 27 bases during the season, but he got thrown out 15 times. The pitchers will slide step almost every pitch when he's on base. I talked to him earlier today. We talked about the fact that you can't hold him down going first to third or first to home on a base hit, and you sure can't stop him going from from home to first on a ball like that all the way to third base.
Paddled down by Santiago. Ball almost escaped him. And by the way, if the ball does get back to the screen here, it is not a slam dunk that the runner from third comes in.
Screen area very close from here to home plate, not that much distance, and the ball will bounce off that back screen area, the padding, and come back to Santiago at a fairly decent clip. We briefly got in this in game 2, talking about great stances and beautiful swings and the way you should try to approach in that bat if you're interested in the game of baseball and you want to play it. Franco's not one of those guys. Don't try to teach your kid how to hit like him, because you're not strong enough to wrap that bat all the way around your head and then still get it back to the strike zone, especially against a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
It's a 36-ounce bat, too. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and the knowledge here that a fly ball of any depth will tie this game for Atlanta. And Steve, you see Santiago going out to counsel Jason Schmidt. And Jason Schmidt very much on record as saying one of the reasons he turned down more money from his hometown Seattle Mariners to pitch again here for the Giants is a chance to hook up again with Benito Santiago. He just feels a real comfort level, just as we discussed Blanco and Maddox together. Doesn't get as much publicity, but Santiago has that settling effect on Jason Schmidt.
He's just so smooth back there, knows when to kick your butt a little bit, knows when to finesse you a little bit. Right now, on a 3-2 pitch, he went out there and said, do not give in to this hitter right here.
On the key start against the Dodgers 2 weeks ago, Santiago actually refused to have a pregame pitcher-catcher meeting with Schmidt. Said, I got you. Put the lineup card away. Just follow me. Rolled to short, and the play will be to first. This game is tied 1-1. Base is clear. Here's Jeannie Zalasko at our Fox Network Center in L.A.
Josh, with the Yankees and Angels, we have learned it is never over, but what the heck. Top 2, Robin Ventura got the Yankees on the board with an RBI double. The Yankees won, the Angels nothing. No rally monkey sightings yet, Josh. We'll keep you posted.
That interlocking N and Y just may stand for not yet. The Yankees are not going to go gently with David Wells on the mound today.
I'll tell you, it's not too early for the rally monkey down there. They'll break it out before the game if they think they're losing.
Never has a primate gotten more attention than that rally monkey in Anaheim. Sheffield has been absolutely held in check in this series. He is 1 for 10. October's magical matchups, rally monkey or not, continuing tomorrow, where if necessary the Angels and Yankees go back to the Bronx, or it'll be these two teams, the Giants and the Braves, squaring off in game 4. The road to the World Series continuing tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, following exciting NFL doubleheader action right here on Fox. Well, that's a full day of sports for you tomorrow, huh? 2 football games and playoff baseball.
That's like you said, right here in this town. Talking about football, a couple ball games. What's a sports fan to do? I don't know if that's heaven or a nightmare.
Depends on how many tickets you can get. Bounding ball to first, and Chipper Jones will be taken care of. The leadoff triple from Furcal ends up tying the game. It's 1-1. Bottom of the 3rd coming up. Series tied at 1, game tied at 1. Josh Lewin and Steve Lyons, thank you very much for joining us today. The Braves and the Giants with Greg Maddux on the mound against his opposite number. Jason Schmidt, a one-time Atlanta Brave. We've told the story about he was nurtured along by Greg Maddux. Greg Maddux doesn't want us talking about that, but Schmidt with a wink basically says, no, I definitely learned from this guy. And it seems as though everybody has taken Dusty Baker's advice about swinging at that first pitch. Schmidt just did it. He is now down 0-2.
Well, it's not a bad concept, and a lot of people around baseball think that that may be the best way to approach Greg Maddux, but it does initially go against what the Giants are all about. This is a veteran team that's been very patient. They were very patient against Tommy Glavine, took the pitches that he was going to give them, and they generally work the count. sometimes better than any other team in baseball. Now you're asking guys to go up there and go to hacking right away.
Maddox drops one in. Schmidt has struck out Maddox. Now Maddox has struck out Schmidt. But we talked to Dusty Baker about game planning against the great Greg Maddux this afternoon.
The main thing about Maddox, you got to get him on. I mean, that's the thing. You got to get on against him. Hopefully get his pitch count up kind of high early in the game, which is hard to do because this guy can minimize, I should say maximize, a minimum amount of pitches probably better than anybody in baseball.
Greg Maddux operates with the precision of a neurosurgeon. That is a problem if you're a hitter looking to work the count.
The professor. Well, I'll tell you, Dusty was on fire today in our pregame meeting with him. When you get Dusty talking baseball, you spend a lot of time laughing. Boy, he had some great stories. One of his scouts called him during the meeting and asked Dusty if he should bring a jacket to the game. Dusty's like, you kidding me? Think I have better things to worry about whether or not you should bring a sweater?
Lofton bangs it up the middle on 0-2. Yeah, Dusty's the answer man. Time, temperature, how to approach Greg Maddux. And a little bit of inside-out maneuverability here. Lofton took the first, then went after the second, and on 0-2, he pounds it up the middle.
Nice at bat by Lofton, and a bad mistake pitch that you won't see from Maddux very often, and that's the reaction you get out of him. How do I give up a base hit 0-2 on a pitch to the fastest guy on their ball club? And everybody knows that Maddux is very slow to the plate. Kenny Lofton only steals when his legs are feeling good. He's up there in age now, more than 500 career stolen bases. I think he's feeling pretty good.
Lofton is going. Blanco is throwing. Too late.
This is just a tremendous jump. Watch how quickly he goes. Blanco should put this ball in his back pocket because he has no chance of getting Kenny Lofton right there. Look at the jump. See you later. No way. Lofton's already lit up a victory cigar standing on second base by the time that ball is delivered.
Lofton 2 for 2, a bunt single, an 0-2 single. Looking to score his second run of the afternoon. Aurelia to center. Lofton's got to get back. Maddux and Lofton were briefly teammates. Remember, Kenny Lofton took a turn as an Atlanta Brave. Lofton had stolen 75 bases a year before he got to Atlanta. That total was cut down to about a third of that the year that he was a Brave and a teammate of Mr. Maddux.
Took a lot of heat for that down in Atlanta, too. They thought they were going to get a table setter, a guy that could steal a lot of bases. He had hamstring problems down there. And Lofton's a very proud, very quiet player. He's very upset and hurt by that people didn't realize that it's kind of tough to steal bases when you have leg injuries.
Strike one to Jeff Kent. And it was Kent that drove in Lofton from second base in the first inning. Trying to do that again as we play in the bottom of the third. Look out! In the helmet. Now that's to get Bonds to the plate with 2 on.
Boy, that looks like a pretty good mouse right above Jeff Kent's left eye. see some swelling going on right away. He's got the Oakley sunglasses on. That hits off his shoulder, bounces up, and catches part of the ear flap. Kent's not real happy about that location, but I think he just lost his ball on the way. Boy, if there's any consolation here, it's the fact that Greg Maddux doesn't throw all that hard. That ball just gets away from Maddux. Ouch.
We were just talking about the precision of Greg Maddux. He only hit 4 batters during the regular season. And Kent had that look as he glowered out to the mound. Like, you don't miss, buddy. How come you got me in the helmet?
Well, Kent's always been one of those tough guys. You know that. But that's the reaction of getting hit in the head. I think Kent's standing at first base right now realizing that Maddux didn't throw at him. But when you get hit like that, your first reaction is to say, yo, what's going on? You're better than that.
I don't think Greg Maddux had it in his script to make it 2-on for Barry Bonds.
Not at all. And Kent realizes that now. That's just a reaction of getting hit in the head with a baseball.
Barry Bonds' career postseason batting average had dipped to 193 when he marched to the plate Thursday night and hit that John Smoltz fastball deep into the night. And if nothing else, that seemed to serve some notice, Steve. A bulletin that said, all right, that's enough about how I don't do jack in the playoffs. If he can get Maddux here, he's got to pass.
I think it's certainly one of the things that Barry thinks about, only because the media has made him think about it for a long time now.
Keep in mind that Bonds does have 8 career home runs off Maddux, but none in the last 4 years.
And 9 career off of Smoltz. Boy, he is so patient, so balanced, so quick at home plate.
That, believe it or not, is the shortstop. The overshift works well. This game still tied. The Division Series on Fox brought to you by GMC. We are professional grade, and by Sprint, introducing PCS Vision. Clearly a whole new way to look at wireless. Greg Maddux weaving in and out of trouble today. Kenny Lofton got to second base with 1 out. Jeff Kent got hit in the helmet to bring Barry Bonds to the plate with 2 on in the 3rd inning. But with the shortstop playing essentially the rover position behind second base, game stays tied 1-1. More pop-up fun for Benito Santiago.
You see Santiago then catches the ball with his hands above his head instead of the basket style catch that he tried to do the other day. He said, generally I will try to catch it, fundamentally sound. This guy is a flashy ball player, no question. He always gets it done. That pop-up that he dropped the other day had a little style attached to it. He said, I've dropped 2 pop-ups in my life, and the next pitch after that have been hit for a home run. He said Kevin McReynolds got him when he was playing with the New York Mets way back when.
Now the first pitch swingers are the Atlanta Braves against Jason Schmidt.
Santiago said the funny thing about that was I really believe that I helped Javi hit that ball out of the park, because the first thing I thought about when I dropped it was McReynolds got me the last time I did that. So I was thinking about it so much, the next pitch got hit out of the park.
Well, he really does date himself if he's talking about Kevin McReynolds. Check swing. 97 still is what we're seeing on the gun. We've seen up as high as 98 from Jason Schmidt. And under normal circumstances, normally this guy's topping out 30 or 93 to 95.
Yeah, he is bringing it. They talked about the emotions that this kid carries on his sleeve, and He says it's all a lot of talk that I didn't want to pitch against my former team in Atlanta, that I wouldn't be able to handle it. Says I don't know where that stuff came from. It was Dusty's decision to put me third in the rotation. He said, yeah, am I a little bit more hyped up to pitch against these guys because I used to play for them? Yeah, but name me any guy who isn't. It's not that I have a phobia about pitching in Atlanta. Dusty said it was Ortiz's turn to start first. He wanted to be his opener, and then Kirk Reeder had such a great record on the road, he went with him second.
You heard a lot of talk if you watched the Game 1 battle between the Yankees and the Angels. Joe Buck and Tim McCarver talked about slowing things down in the postseason, how that would be a key for Anaheim. Jason Schmidt probably falls under that exact same umbrella. Fly ball, Vinny Castilla down the right field line. Reggie Sanders locks it up. And we will get you to the RadioShack.com trivia question, noting that Barry Bonds led the National League with a .582 on-base percentage. That was an all-time Major League record. Who finished second behind Mr. Bonds? And let's just say he lapped the field, too.
Well, Josh, you were talking about Schmidt and slowing things down, and what Tim and Joe mean by that is being able to harness the emotions of playing in the playoffs and not letting them control you. Schmidt's definitely a guy that needs to have emotion when he's pitching. Another guy that I played with, Oil Can Boyd. Boy, when they tried to harness him in, he was not the same pitcher. He needed to pitch with emotion, and I think Schmidt needs to take that, but control it. Roger Clemens has been a victim of his emotions at times. But boy, when he harnesses them, forget about it.
There's got to be a way to explain why a 94-mile-an-hour fastball is 98 today. While he continues to look like a very poised starting pitcher today, it's not like he has that Roger Clemens look to him, you know?
Yeah, it's not like he hit the weight room game 1 and game 2.
What was it Master Khan said on Kung Fu? Become the calm and restful breeze that tames the violent sea.
I thought he said something about snatching the pebble from my hand or something like that. Grasshopper.
Different episode. Good results. Jason Schmidt keeps it tied up 1-1. What did you decide? What is the most memorable moment in Major League Baseball history? Well, watch Game 4 of the World Series on Fox to find out. Don't miss it. Greg Maddux missed a location on Jeff Kent. And there was a little stare down going down.
We had a camera on Kent in between innings there, and he spent about 5 minutes, it seemed like, trying to brush a scuff mark off of those sunglasses that he wears to the plate after the ball bounced off of that. Trying to clean them up again.
Benito Santiago hoisting one to left field. That'll be taken care of as we go to Jeannie Velasco at our Fox Network Center.
Josh, the postseason is all about pitching and defense. The Yankees have been struggling with both. Alfonso Soriano missed the David Eckstein shot. The tying run scored. Soriano regroups. Darren Erstad, the next batter. Soriano starts that double play. The Angels strand 2 in that inning, and we are tied, bottom 4.
Sean Wooten scoring that tying run, a former high school teammate of Jason Giambi. There is a distinct possibility, because JT Snow takes inside, that Jason Giambi, having left Oakland for the seemingly greener pastures of the Bronx, if that makes any sense, or no green pastures in the Bronx, I understand. But it might be Giambi sitting watching on TV as the A's play on.
If they can get past the Twins.
It's true. It's true. Minnesota big time winner today as JT Snow bounces out. And time to answer today's RadioShack.com trivia question all about Barry Bonds. Of course, with the Giants, it really is all about Barry Bonds. The silver medalist in on-base percentage this year was Brian Giles at .450. Barry Bonds led by 132 percentage points.
Not even close. No disrespect to Giles, of course.
Of course.
Great year for him.
Especially since his brother Marcus is sitting in that Atlanta dugout. So with Barry Bonds, these last 2 years, I mean, it's just been an overflowing treasure chest of stats, so gaudy, Syke, that they'd almost blind you if you look too long at them. Home run record last year, slugging percentage record last year. This year it was all about the nearly 200 walks and the on-base percentage record.
Oldest to win a batting title. Yeah, by the way, hit 370.
Just a few years ago, Barry Bonds hit 266. We just saw Soriano, and I'll put it to you this way, Steve. Take away all of Barry Bonds' hits this year, every last one of them. He still had a higher on-base percentage than Alfonso Soriano. And Soriano might be the AL MVP. Near third, that's foul. So if Soriano is MVP worthy, what are the initials we need to come up with to describe the season that Barry Bonds has had?
Tattoo MVP on his arm. Leave it there. I think what we just saw in that quick highlight of the Yankee Anaheim game, the ball that bounced through Soriano's legs, the number of errors that he made this season will be one of the factors that keeps Soriano from getting the MVP in the American League. One area of his game that needs to be worked on, it is defense.
Meantime, Tejada maybe will have the stage if the A's can get past the Twins. Boy, the Twins, how much dancing would they do on a national stage if they get to the ALCS after they were all but vaporized this offseason?
Great story.
Outside corner, Reggie Sanders can't believe it. But believe it, Greg Maddux sometimes gets the call. We'll be back after this from your local Fox station. Giants got a run in the bottom of the first. The Braves back with one in the third. Here we are in the fifth. Game 3 of the National League Division Series, tied at 1 so far. Jason Schmidt and Greg Maddux hooking up in this duel this afternoon.
The best pitching by both teams that we've seen so far in this series.
Yeah, Steve, conventional wisdom was in this series, maybe more than any other, it would be all about the pitching. These are the top 2 pitching staffs statistically in the National League. But the first 2 game finals were 8-5 and 7-3.
Seems like offensive numbers always tend to go down in the playoffs in general, but this year in the playoffs, we've seen some guys banging the ball around the yard.
And they have been the unlikeliest of candidates, it would seem, too. Barry Bonds did hit the one very impressive home run off Smoltz. Jeff Kent finally has himself an RBI today, but for the most part, it's been the 5 through 8 hitters in each batting order. Rolled to short. Blanco is out.
Well, we said that the key to Jason Schmidt would be the velocity on his fastball. There's some high gas right there. That's one thrown past Vinny Castilla. And then if you get on the fastball, they got a nice little breaking ball for you. Rafael Furcal can't catch up with that one as well. Boy, he has had it all today. Great location down in the zone with the curveball and some serious giddy up on fastballs up in the strike zone.
Greg Maddux chats it up with Benito Santiago as he steps in. Maddux was hearing it from this big partisan crowd, having hit Jeff Kent in the helmet. That was a precursor to a Barry Bonds 2 on, 2 out at bat in the third. Bonds blistered one behind the bag at second, but Furcal made the play.
You missed it. This is what it looked like. And that's how bad it sounded. Ball just glanced off that front left shoulder and then bounced up and hit him right above the left eye.
And Psycho, as long as we've tossed the word blister out there, we should mention that that blister problem that Maddux may or may not have had, according to the conspiracy theorists out there, it's gone. He's fine. That's why he was pushed back supposedly from game 2 to game 3.
That was one of the other things that Dusty had talked about in our pregame meeting. He says, I don't know if I believe he had a blister at all. Maybe something else was bothering him. Maybe they just wanted to change the rotation. He says, you know, a lot of stuff comes out. He says, I know in the past I've worked on some fake stories of my own. I'll throw them out there every once in a while and see who's going to bite.
If there were crop circles in the outfield right now, Dusty would be dubious about that too. Maddux, a line shot into the crowd. But the thing about pushing Maddux back, if Maddux were to have pitched Thursday and the blister got worse, he may have been unavailable for a potential game 5. He would have had Damian Moss, maybe, not Kevin Millwood, pitching the deciding game instead. Bobby Cox saying, I just like the way the dominoes fall by doing it this way. Dusty Baker says maybe, maybe not. Greg Maddux not going away easily.
This is like he's throwing change-ups up there. 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Maddux out in front of it, pulling it into the seats down the line. Of course, it was just a strike. He'd be a great cricket player, I guess, but you know, these guys pride themselves on that pitching staff being able to swing the bat and do a little damage when they go up there.
Reaching for it, he taps it to second base, and now it's Kent who gets Maddux instead of the other way around.
Never fails. You say something good about a pitcher and the way he swings the bat, and then he weakly grounds out like that.
Happy to hang the jinx on him there. October's magical matchups continue tomorrow, where, if necessary, the Angels and Yankees go back to the Bronx for game 5. Or the Giants and the Braves square off in game 4. The road to the World Series continues tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, following exciting NFL doubleheader action on Fox. Joe Buck probably midway through a big-time production meeting right now, getting ready for the 49ers and the Rams. Scant miles from here. There's Furcal. And he flies to right. This ball game halfway through and all tied up. Series on Fox brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest lasting trucks on the road. By ProCrit. And by Midas Total Car Care. Midas, we do that. Game 3. The series is tied at 1. This game is tied at 1 as Jason Schmidt and Greg Maddux. They were teammates on the Braves in 95 and 96. And they are hooked up in a nice little pitcher's duel today. Our Chevy Trucks in-game box score, with Lofton on base twice. A stolen base and the run scored back in the first inning. Former Braves getting it done today, Mr. Lyons, between Jason Schmidt's pitching and Kenny Lofton's running around.
There you go. Sometimes guys come back to bite you. And not a bad performance so far by the man on the mound there, Greg Maddux.
Go back to the first inning. David Bell at the plate right now. Remember the play that he made to end that top of the first. That saved a run.
They talk about Bell playing a gold glove caliber third base. The Braves say the same thing about Vinny Castilla. Highest fielding percentages ever for a third baseman. Made just 6 errors all season.
And that's what pinballed Chipper Jones willingly into left field.
And we're about at that time in the game where the sun is going to become a major factor out there in left field.
Down the line, just foul. That is one thing that Bobby Cox was very much chatty about both yesterday and today. He was concerned Chipper Jones, who's not a left fielder by trade, is going to be dealing with that sun throughout the afternoon.
You can see how deep Chipper plays. There's a pretty good view of that sun if a ball gets stuck right in that area. And you see as the sun's moving this way as the game goes on, just gets closer and closer to off the bat view of Chipper Jones.
Bobby Cox remembers B.J. Surhoff having problems with a fly ball in left for the Braves a couple of years ago. And not that he was trying to hang the jinx on his own player, but he just was very cautious about high fly balls to left for Chipper Jones today.
One of the great things that the Braves do is they work on those things. They had him out there hitting them fly balls for 20 minutes yesterday just to get him used to it. Now here's the difference between confidence and not confidence. You look at Chipper Jones, how deeply he's playing. There's the warning track right behind Chipper. You get a shot of Andruw Jones. Look where Andrew's playing. Much closer, much more confidence in his ability to go back on the ball. Chipper with a little less confidence, and rightfully so. He hasn't played out there very long, and now the sun's really a bad problem. It's much easier for outfielders to come in on the baseball than go back on the ball. But if you have a lot of confidence, you play shallow and say, if you hit it over my head, I'll go get it.
Nothing to go get. David Bell down on strikes. I guess that's the other thing to keep in mind, Steve, as we look at the replay. How many fly balls does Greg Maddux really give up?
Throws a lot of ground balls. There's a nasty breaking ball right there. Kept it down in the strike zone. You see the spin of that ball. David Bell was looking for something else.
Oh, but a third, Vinny Castilla takes care of the pitcher, Jason Schmidt, 2 down. You know, Steve, when Maddux pitched here, his one regular season start that he made in San Francisco, he took a one-hitter into the 7th. He had 17 ground ball outs in that game.
Now he throws that sinker, the tailing fastball that dives down into the strike zone, the little slider, the great changeup. Everything is down in the strike zone and from corner to corner. Rarely gets the ball up. But as we said before, when he gets into a bad little spell, the ball hangs out over the plate. When a lot of guys miss badly with their pitches, they miss in the dirt, or they miss high, or they miss side to side. Maddux tends to miss out over the plate when he misses. Of course, we know he doesn't break 90 very often, if ever. 87 to 89, take a little off.
Taking something off there to Lofton. Yeah, Maddux is maybe the most unassuming looking future Hall of Famer in baseball right now. Barely 6 feet tall.
There's a changeup grip for you right there.
Changeup up and away, 1-2.
Yeah, it's not like he spends a lot of time in the weight room in the offseason either. Doesn't have to.
It's like a Clark Kent Superman thing he's got working. Mild-mannered, seemingly peaceful guy off the field.
It's a grip of a little cut fastball. Maddux has come off the bat a little bit later in his career. There's a change-up grip again, a circle change.
Lofton pegs it, but foul.
If you're a left-handed hitter, Maddux MO for a number of years, he could almost tell you what was coming. If you go 3-2, you're gonna see a break. You're gonna see a changeup. If you're 2-2, a lot of times you'll see that cut fastball in on your hands, down on your knees to a lefty, then go back to the change. That's what we meant in the opening of the ball game by saying he pitches backwards. If you're in a fastball count as a hitter, you're going to see a breaking ball or a changeup. If you're in a breaking ball count, a lot of times you'll see that sneaky fastball on a corner.
Lofton reaching out. And for the first time, Maddux has retired him today. The pitcher's duel we thought we just might have is upon us. The Division Series on Fox, brought to you by Bud Light. For the great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. And by Schooner and by Dinghy, here they are in McCovey Cove. It is 1-1 in the 6th inning.
Those guys out there know how to party while they're watching a game. The emphasis on party because they can't actually see the game. Hey, guys!
That's a great shot from out there, and after 30 years at Candlestick, a ballpark without a soul, the Giants are now in a place that literally throbs with excitement.
Ah, look at that. Hit it here. I got it. That's funny.
Try turning 2 with that glove, though.
He'll never get it out of there. It's the same glove that's in left field here at Pac Bell. It's just a little replica out there out in the Cove.
6th inning underway in game 3, and Steve, I'd suggest to you this has potential to be a big inning, not just in this game but in this series. You've got the 2, 3, 4 part of the orders coming up both sides in this inning.
And at a point in the game where both pitchers, especially a power guy, can start to tire a little bit. Jason Schmidt has not shown any signs of that so far in this ball game. He's been outstanding, matching Maddox pitch for pitch.
Schmidt, who broke in with the Atlanta Braves. Matter of fact, he's got himself a World Series ring. He was not on the active roster in 1995 when the Braves were able to win that one elusive World Series title. But they gave him a ring, and he refuses to wear it. He says, I didn't do anything in the postseason. I didn't play. I will wear one when I do something that helps my team win one.
Got a shot at it this year.
The great contortionist Julio Franco now down to the count 1-2.
I'd love to spend a lot of time up here telling you how you should do things. This is how you should not do it. Look at that knock-kneed, bat wrapped up around your head. You have to be tremendously strong to get that bat wrapped all the way back around your head. Swings a 35-ounce bat. Barry Bonds swings a 32-ounce bat, and then get that through the hitting zone, and he gets it done.
He is playing in his 25th season of professional baseball. So if he debuted in Butte, Montana at the age of 16, I guess he really is 41 years old.
Yeah, right. He's 49 if he's a day, but I got news for you. Look, you see those arms right there? Those are really, really big muscles. So you go give him the business about how old he is. I'm going to do it from up here.
I'm just saying, not too many 16-year-olds playing pro ball. Franco down on strikes. That'll be Danny Almonte's senior division.
Yeah. Jason Schmidt just abused him right there, taken all the way on the breaking ball. Now Schmidt goes outside with another breaking ball that misses. That establishes his next pitch. Another breaking ball coming with a fastball, and then bounce this one. Here it comes. Forget about it. Schmidt has done a much better job with his breaking ball than advertised. The fastball has been dominant. The breaking ball has kept the hitters off balance.
Schmidt is not allowed a base runner since that Furcal triple that dropped beyond Barry Bonds to lead off the third. Powers it right by Sheffield, mid-90s again.
That's a mistake right there, though. He doesn't want the ball down in this area of the strike zone. He wants to lift that pitch. Great velocity, but if you throw that pitch to Sheffield too many times, he will hit it. That's nasty, and that serves a purpose right there. Breaking ball down in the strike zone. Did he go? Doesn't matter what I think. The umpire said no.
No, Gary Darling says let's call it 2-1. Gary Sheffield, Steve, was huge in the 1997 postseason, beating these same Atlanta Braves as part of the World Series champion Florida Marlins. That team since gutted down to skeletal remains. Sheffield in the '97 playoffs had a Barry Bonds-like on-base percentage of around .550. Bonds, of course, has never won a championship at any level. He says not even Little League. Sheffield is on.
And his son Nikolai's won twice.
Isn't that just how it goes? We go to Jeannie Zelasco at our Fox Network Center.
And Josh, we're off to Anaheim. Juan Rivera got on base courtesy of Troy Gloss error. 2 batters later, Derek Jeter made the Angels pay. The sacrifice fly sent Rivera home, and the Yankees have a 2-1 lead, bottom 5.
We'll continue to keep you posted. Thank you very much, Jeannie. 2-1 there, 1-1 here. White knuckle West Coast baseball for you on Fox today.
How about Dusty Baker earlier talking about Chipper Jones as a switch hitter and how good he is from both sides of the plate. More power lefty, but he has closed that gap right-handed, although this year only 4 home runs from the right side of the plate. But compared him to guys like Eddie Murray, Reggie Smith, you're gonna like that. Your name's Chipper Jones.
Yeah, Don Baylor, the one that really helped him cultivate the right side swing. This left side swing has always been a thing of beauty.
And Baylor basically just said, why can't you hit the ball out right hand? Go up there and hack.
On the outside, Black. Yeah, Don Baylor pretty much pointed out to Chipper Jones, you don't go up there trying to slap a single somewhere. Your mission is to do damage. That goes for righty or lefty.
I really respect Don Baylor, the job that he does. I played with Don Baylor and the respect that he commands as a player. The job that he did as a hitting coach for a number of organizations. Andres Galarraga, another guy that he really turned around. And I believe he should get another managing job as well somewhere.
Chipper Jones certainly connected with him, and Chipper Jones, we've talked about this, has connected often off of Jason Schmidt in the past, including today. 14 of 30 lifetime. That includes 4 home runs. Look at Benito Santiago. Body language says, hey, settle down. I know it's Chipper Jones. You're still Jason Schmidt. Settle down.
Up at the 95 pitch mark for a power pitcher. Start to worry about him.
Runs the count to 3-1. And we've talked about this, Steve. As much damage as Chipper Jones has done against Schmidt, the man on deck, Andrew Jones, has never been able to sniff any damage against him.
Oh, the guy on first base, you don't want to be too careful with him. If Chipper sees anything near the strike zone, he's going to come out of his shoes right here.
Tries to check his swing, and he did. Back-to-back walks, and this after Jason Schmidt had retired 10 in a row.
What happens to a power pitcher when he starts to lose it? He comes up out of the strike zone. Jason Schmidt has been outstanding with the breaking ball and the high fastball in the strike zone. Manny Ibar goes down and starts thinking about heating up.
Giants bullpen was outstanding in game 2. Five innings of one-hit shutout baseball for Dusty Baker. And again, we asked the question, what did you decide about the most memorable moment in Major League Baseball history? You can watch game 4 of the World Series on Fox to find out. Don't miss it.
Did you have a favorite?
I had about a 9-way tie. Some serious waffling going on.
My favorite didn't make the top 5. Carlton Fisk, 75.
Waving it fair.
Waving it fair. Of course, I guess you get a little biased when you play for the Red Sox and you grew up being a Red Sox fan.
Can't go wrong with any of those choices. And there is magic to be made here in the 2002 postseason. This series tied at 1. Game tied at 1. 1 ball, no strikes to Andruw Jones. Again, he is 1 for 19 lifetime against Schmidt.
I'll tell you what, there's a huge at-bat for Jones right here, too, and I really like the way he took that breaking ball. He's been very over-aggressive in this series so far. He needs to calm down and get his swing together.
Schmidt trying to loop it onto the outside corner. He falls behind 2-0. And you've got a suddenly hot Vinny Castilla looming on deck.
You know, Josh, you just watch to see how guys take pitches when they're not swinging at him, and he looks very calm and collected up there right now.
Check swing.
Well, that ball got on him hard, didn't it? Wow. Andruw Jones wanted no part of that fastball. That thing just barreled in on his hands. Get off me.
To right field and foul. 2 balls, 2 strikes now.
This is a duel right here, Josh. This has been very impressive. Schmidt gets behind on the count with 2 breaking balls that Jones just spits on. And then Schmidt comes back with a nasty tailing fastball in on his hands and a filthy fastball out on the outside corner. I don't know if he's got confidence in that breaking ball right now. Bounce it right here and see if Jones chases.
That's the kind of swing where you think, all right, this ball's either in the left center alley or it's right back to the net. And fortunately for Schmidt, it was door number 2.
Was the breaking ball caught a little bit more of the plate maybe than he wanted to? Jones right on it. See the spin of that ball? Boy, that's a great shot at the super slow-mo camera.
Keep in mind, too, Psycho, that Schmidt has allowed only 4 home runs to right-hand batters all year. Andruw Jones, 35 home runs during the regular season. You make a mistake to this guy, it's lights out. Checked his swing. Another 3-ball count for Jason Schmidt. Does he have enough of the fastball left in him here, Steve, to throw that pitch here 3-2?
I think we're going to find out. Santiago's going to go out there and find out exactly what he wants to throw, so there's no indecision at all on either of their parts. I think Benito wants to know from Schmidt what he thinks he can get him out with.
You also run the risk here of a 3rd consecutive walk in the inning. The only walk all game had been the intentional pass to Chipper Jones back in the 1st.
I'll tell you what, he has been so impressive with both of his pitches right here, but I still think this has now become a fastball count. 2-2, you try to see if you can get him to chase the breaking ball. He fouled it off. Now I think you say, hey, you're a power pitcher, throw your fastball right by him, see what happens.
Fastball at 96, but it missed. And they are loaded up for Vinny Castilla.
Well, let's take a look at a classic duel right there between 2 power players, the pitcher and Andruw Jones. First pitch breaking ball. Jones said, another breaking ball. Fastball in, now a fastball away. Great pitch. He fouls it off. He goes 2-2, tries to get him to get the curveball. Another breaking ball, and then a fastball just missed, and Santiago tried to frame it and keep it for him.
End of the line for Jason Schmidt. The bullpen will try to keep it tied 1-1. Figured maybe this, the sixth inning, would be a pivotal inning today and maybe in this series. The bases are loaded. One down. Tie game 1-1. It's Ibar against Vinny Castilla. And Castilla first pitch swinging. A base hit into left. The throw coming in. Not in time. 2-run score. And just like that, it's Atlanta 3 and San Francisco 1. Now, Steve, we didn't have time to set the new pitcher, Manny Ibar, but interesting to consider. Vinny Castilla, career against Jason Schmidt. 35 at-bats. Not a single extra base hit. Ibar, meantime, has now given up 3 hits in the last 4 times that he has faced Vinny Castilla.
And plus, I just think that's bad pitch selection. We've talked all day long and all series long how Castilla is a great fastball hitter, a bad breaking ball hitter. You need either a strikeout or a ground ball in this situation. Throw sliders away from Castilla and get him to roll over. Maybe you get a ground ball double play and end the inning. First pitch fastball, bangs it into left field for a hit.
Now Lockhart sends one into right field. All the way back. This ball is going to go! Keith Lockhart! And though they play the ball back in, right field umpire Bill Miller says that is a 3-run jack from a most unlikely source. 2 pitches, 5 runs, and 6-1 Atlanta in the 6th inning.
Keith Lockhart just banged that one off the roofing of the right field wall, which is a home run. All you have to do is get it over the top of the brick wall. He didn't waste any time jumping on Ibar as well. Another first pitch fastball. Lockhart in there for his defense mostly, but he said, hey, I'll go ahead and hit a fastball. He looks like it. The way he ran down the first baseline, thought he was either going to be an out or out of the ballpark. Sanders slipping out there a little bit, hits off the top of the wall and comes back in. That is a home run.
Jason Schmidt, 104 pitches. Had this game tied 1-1. Then with 2 pitchers from the relief corps, Manny Ibar makes it 6-1.
See as that ball sails out of the ballpark.
Keith Lockhart had 5 home runs during the regular season. And Steve, on the prospect food chain, this guy had been the plankton for about 10 years. With the Atlanta team again this year making a difference. This guy had been a 6-year minor league free agent 3 times. He just hit a huge home run. Now a couple batters too late. As far as the Giants fans are concerned, Ibar gets his man.
Lockhart was a guy who hung in there for a long time with the Kansas City organization. Finally got a chance to play when the big guns of the Kansas City Royals started to retire. Got a lot of playing time and then signed with Atlanta and had to go back to basically being a utility player again. Said that didn't bother him a bit. Had a chance to continue to keep a Major League Baseball uniform on his back.
With the Braves, you hear so much about the marquee names. Greg Maddux at the plate right now is one of them. We've talked about the Joneses and Sheffield. But when you think about it, the Matt Francos, the Darren Braggs, the Keith Lockharts, stuff that was rescued out of other people's trash bins, essentially. And they have been carrying the Braves so far early in this 2002 postseason.
I think a lot of Braves fans were surprised to not see Matt Franco start this game at first base. Trading time with Julio Franco. Wes Helms got some playing time over there. There is Julio. And I'll tell you, time after time in a playoff game, you put the part-time players in a great opportunity to do some damage because you are putting them in the RBI situations because you're pitching around the big names.
Charged it short. And Maddox pulls up, but you know what? He's got a 5-run lead right now. Thanks in part to Vinny Castilla. And then joining the ranks of Brian Doyle and Mark Lemke, ladies and gentlemen, Keith Lockhart. Greg Maddux can hold the lead.
There's Lockhart, Castilla as well. He threw those numbers out there about Castilla facing Schmidt. And I'll tell you, I don't have a problem at all with the pitching change. Schmidt had just walked the last 3 guys. He's a power pitcher, starting maybe to lose his control and velocity. Castilla, notwithstanding those numbers against him, is a great high fastball hitter.
Ball put in play. Rich Aurelia is the first out here in the bottom of the 6th. We go to Jeannie Zelasco at our Fox Network Center in L.A.
Josh, do they make the rally monkey in pinstripes? First batter, top 5. Sean Wooten gets his 5th hit in 7 at-bats of the series. This the biggest, a solo shot to tie the game, and then insult to injury. Bernie Williams playing deep, maybe too deep on the Darren Erstad blooper. The go-ahead run scores a 7-run 5th inning for the Angels. It is 9-2, bottom 5, just 2 outs.
Unbelievable. Kent nails one to short. And 2 quick outs here. The Angels sitting pretty against the Yankees. And yeah, a Bay Area bonanza. That pretty much says it. Get out your slide rule, your compass. We'll try to keep you current on exactly what's going where. If the Angels win today in the Bay Area, you go to KTVU for your football. A split with the Twins and the A's. The Braves and the Giants play on Fox tomorrow night if there is no Game 5 in the Bronx. And that rally monkey looking to make sure that there is no Game 5 in the Bronx. Barry Bonds drives it to left field. Barry Bonds, home run. Check the calendar. I do believe it's a postseason. That would be his 3rd career playoff home run. Is it enough to get the Giants back in this game?
Well, it's certainly a start. They need to have something going on like that.
9th career home run off Maddox. He went out of the zone to go get it.
Oh, look at the eyes.
You know, Steve, it's funny, too. The thing you hear about Barry Bonds all year, he refuses to go out of the strike zone. Desperate times maybe call for desperate measures. He just attacked that ball into the crowd.
He's so on top of the plate against Maddox that that pitch, even though it's out of the strike zone, is still in his zone to hit.
9 career home runs off Greg Maddux. He's also got 9 against Smoltz.
Take another look at the swing. Watch Barry's eyes light up. Nobody has better concentration on the baseball than that man right there. And then check out the balance of his swing. You can draw a line right through his helmet, through his back leg, and that's an opposite field home run. But as we said in game 2, we'll say it again, the Barry Bonds detractors, which I'm clearly on record as not being one of them, will say that, yeah, he hits his home run when the score is 6-1. And then he hits his home run in game 2 after the Giants are out of it. Hey, you can only take what they give him. He hit a bullet up the middle with the guys on 1st and 2nd earlier today, with a guy standing base hit in any other ball game, but not with the shift for Bonds.
The Bonds home run has the Giants thinking comeback in game 3. We'll return to San Francisco after this word from your local Fox station. Greg Maddux did allow a home run to Barry Bonds. Yes, he said Barry Bonds hit a postseason home run. And Maddox, 67 pitches. That's it through 6 innings.
He certainly did his job for this ball club. That was pretty much a classic Maddox performance.
67 pitches and looking like he's done at this point, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Felix Rodriguez, the third San Francisco pitcher of the day. Jason Schmidt started. Jason Schmidt had retired 10 straight. 1 out in the 6th inning. He went careening into a brick wall. He walked 3 straight. Manny Ibar came in, and in 2 pitches the game went from 1-1 to 6-1.
And just to finish that thought about Manny Ibar, I have no problem with the pitching change that Dusty Baker made, getting Schmidt out of there after walking 3 straight guys. He did have a problem with the pitch selection of Ibar. He's facing Castilla with the bases loaded and an out, one of the best fastball hitters in the National League. He throws him a first pitch fastball instead of trying to throw a breaking ball away or something down in the strike zone that he can get Castilla to hit a ground ball and potentially hit a double play ball.
One of the things you always heard about Vinny Castilla when he was really ripping it up for the Rockies, there is no better dead red first pitch fastball hitter than Vinny Castilla.
Florida Marlins, when he was with them, had a little question about maybe he was losing some bat speed. The Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves have not said anything about that. He did go through a period of 3 months here with the Braves that he did not hit a home run. Of course, he juiced one in game 2 to dead central on a high fastball.
Leads you to believe that Vinny Castilla is back. For a call, rips, he doesn't get him. Now, one thing to keep in mind about Maddox apparently being done for the afternoon. Maddox, 67 pitches. Millwood, remember, in game 2, only 72 pitches. You're going to have Tom Glavine on the mound tomorrow in game 4. And the Braves obviously will look to wrap it up if they can hang on today. But if there is a game 5, well, Millwood has only thrown 72 pitches. Maddox only 67 in this series.
Could use all of those guys in an emergency situation if you have to do it. Good to see Chris Hammond warming up down there in the pen after the neck problems he had in game 1. Well, you know, the old joke about a Greg Maddux game was if you were a baseball fan and you had a blind date, you could take her to a Greg Maddux started game, because if you didn't like the girl at all, the game would be over in 2 hours and 25 minutes. But if you liked her, the game would be over in 2 hours and 25 minutes.
I was told the better thing is to set up that mystery cell phone call. Ooh, I got to take this. Hello? Ooh, I got to go. Yeah, going to a Maddox start would work too.
It's not going to take long.
But again, Maddox only giving the Braves 6 today. On the ground is short. Bobby Cox very comfortable turning it over to that bullpen that's been carrying the Atlanta Braves all year.
And he said the only problem he does have is if Hammond is out of there, because that then changes the roles for the guys down there in that pen. You can give the ball to Remlinger, give the ball to Smoltz if you need it in the 9th. You give the ball to Hammond down there, but when he was injured, he said, I have to get at least 6 out of my starters because I'm not sure what to do, and neither do the guys down there. He really loves to have guys in set roles that know what they're going to do, and then let them have the ball when they're supposed to get it.
Ball 1 to Gary Sheffield. Again, this game was 6-1. It is now 6-2. 18 hours ago here on the West Coast, you had the home team trailing 6-1. They were able to come all the way back. That was Anaheim. How about the Angels today? At last check, 9-2 in favor of Anaheim. Looking to sweep past the Yankees here with 3 straight after that kind of controversial the way it was managed in the 8th inning. First game loss. Minnesota has taken the A's to the brink. They will play a Game 5 here in the Bay Area tomorrow.
Well, the Angels have been for real since the first 20 games of their season when they were terrible, and it looked like Mike Scioscia might be 2 games away from getting fired. Probably now the American League Manager of the Year. Boy, uncharacteristically hitting a lot of home runs in the playoffs for the Angels as well. That was a team that banged the walls down but seldomly hit the ball over the wall.
If indeed the Yankees do not rally, that means that 3 remaining American League teams that are still alive at this point, Steve, will have the 16th, 24th, and 28th largest payrolls in Major League Baseball.
I love it.
I don't know how much the commish loves it, but it's a story.
Well, now with the new contract and the revenue sharing program that they've adopted, will put an ease on the so-called small market teams. But boy, we've been hearing about that for a lot of years now. The fact is, you do have to have some money to spend, but you can spend it wisely. Develop a farm system, develop your starting pitching, and not have to go out and spend a lot of money. We've seen a lot of money spent on guys that seemingly are not worth it. The Oakland A's are a classic example. The Minnesota Twins are a classic example of an organization took it on the chin for about 5 years while it got all its players ready to play in the major leagues. And now look at them.
Well, with the Braves, it's been kind of a mix of all involved. 11 consecutive division titles for Atlanta. They have imported well, but they have also grown their own very well. Chipper Jones, a first-round pick, #1 in the nation. They went to the playoffs every year there were playoffs in the 1990s. They are at it again here in the new millennium. Giants, meantime, trying to get onto the NLCS for the first time since 1989. They ran into Greg Maddux a couple times in that series.
Oh, yeah. And I like this move here, too, by Dusty Baker with Rodriguez in the game. Was generally a setup guy for Rob Nen. Dusty knows that he can't let this game get any further out of hand. He's still got a shot to get back in it. It's not like he's throwing up the white flag and saying we're done. I'm going to send my best out there, try to keep me in it for 2 more innings and see what happens.
Ball and a strike to count to Chipper Jones. At the very least, you know that Kent and Bonds are going to bat at least 1 more time in this game. Kent, his first RBI of the series back in the first. Barry Bonds, the other RBI today with a home run. This game was tied 1-1 into the top of the 6th. And again, Jason Schmidt had retired 10 straight, but then like a passing thunderstorm, all of a sudden you're talking about 5 consecutive Atlanta Braves reaching base and scoring. And the lightning bolt came from Keith Lockhart, of all people. A 3-run home run to right.
Here's Chipper taking one good shot at saying, let me see if I can kiss one goodbye. Just missed it. Felix. Here's my best fastball. See if you can hit it.
Felix Rodriguez, that 96-mile-an-hour heater plus that wicked slider. But he closed with a flash in the regular season. Last 2 months, 13 hits allowed, Steve, and 103 at bats.
He really turned it around. This was one of the nastiest setup guys in all of baseball last year. This year lost his velocity a little bit. Not right there.
Oh, he found it. We're at the stretch. Giants have work to do. The Division Series on Fox brought to you by Sprint, introducing PCS Vision, clearly a whole new way to look at wireless. And by Subway, fresh made sandwiches on fresh baked bread. Subway, eat fresh. 6-2 game at the stretch. He is Steve Lyons. I am Josh Lewin. I am standing on my chair, so this doesn't look completely silly. Steve, it's a 6-2 game right now. Greg Maddux has already given the Braves the requisite 6 innings, needed only 67 pitches to get on through. And the big hit today came from Keith Lockhart after Vinny Castilla supplied a base hit too.
Nice 2-run base hit by Castilla, and first pitch hacking both Castilla and Keith Lockhart. Here's the first one by Castilla. It's going to drive in a couple runs. First pitch fastball, then Lockhart is going to step right up there and say, hey, Vinny did it, so can I. This ball just sneaks out, scrapes the back of the wall as it gets out of there, but they all count for a 3-run jack. And then Barrett, trying to give the Giants fans a little something to cheer about, comes up and hits an opposite field bomb as well.
Game summary is brought to you by Nissan. Maddux, again, the economy of pitches, always part of the story. 11 batters he faced. He only needed 1 or 2 pitches to get through him. Barry Bonds with a home run that seemed to wake up the masses. Now they're going to have to rattle the cage of Chris Hammond. Easier said than done. Chris Hammond with a sparkling 0.95 earned run average. Seems like a typo. It is not.
And especially when you look at Chris Hammond's history. He was out of the game. Came back and decided to pitch. Boy, what a year he had. And then, of course, he gave up a couple of runs in game 1 of this series, but mainly because he made a nice play on a little squibbler. Picked it up, threw it to first, and then had severe neck spasms.
On appeal, no swing. JT Snow tries to get the inning started for San Francisco. Game 1, the player discussing the roller from Rich Aurelio.
Nice play right there, but right on the throw, he just wrenched the neck and then had some nasty neck spasms. Could barely get it done after that.
You talked about it, a great story. 2 years ago, Chris Hammond was retired to Alabama, living in quiet bliss. Skids off the back of the mound. There's for a call. Taken care of. Eck, and oh yeah, Ferdy Shook.
I know that guy.
And Chris Hammond. You get an absolute pass if before this year you'd never heard of B or C on that list. Chris Hammond out of retirement, commuting to Atlanta from Eastern Alabama. Still keeping the ranch going. All he did this year was post an ERA of under 1. Second time that's happened in what, 86 years.
Talk about great family support for Hammond as well. It was his wife that said, you know, your young kids have never seen you do what you do. They've never seen their father as a ball player. Go back and give it another shot. Here he is.
Hustling to the bag, 2 down. And so far, the decision to get Maddux out after 67 pitches looks just fine because Hammond has come on, gotten a couple of ground balls.
That's such a nice story. You wish it was that easy. Wish someone would just, you know, hey Josh, you know you haven't played ball in a while. Just
Right.
go make a comeback with the Braves and have an ERA of under 1. Because, I mean, anyone could do it, right?
Sure. Jim Morris was a feel-good story a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if there is a movie in the offing for Chris Hammond. Right now 6-2 Atlanta in game 3. Game 4 tomorrow. Livan Hernandez for the Giants, 5-0 career in the postseason. He'll be taking on Tom Glavine.
How about that breaking ball right there? It took a sundial to time it to get to the plate. about 36 miles an hour. It's a semi-eephus pitch right there.
One ball, 2 strikes again to Hernandez and Glavine. Last time against the Braves in the postseason, Livan Hernandez pitched Game 5 of the '97 NLCS. Pitched a complete Game 3 hitter. He struck out 15. That'll be your matchup, Livan Hernandez and Tom Glavine tomorrow. And unless the Giants can rally over their final 7 outs, it'll be Hernandez. There will have to be Mr. Everything for San Francisco.
He has a history of that in the postseason, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Of course, Tom Glavine, pretty decent fellow to have on the mound if you're Atlanta looking to close it out.
That's why I'm not so big on that history stuff when it comes to stats and numbers. You got to remember, Livan Hernandez pitched for playoff games for the '97 Florida Marlins. Shoot, it was years ago. Sure, he's a performer in the postseason, but come on, I want to know what he's going to do tomorrow.
And today is not over yet. 2 innings to go, 6-2. The man on the right is a 3-time manager of the year, but he is currently without a couple things. One is a victory in a postseason series. The other is a contract for next year. Bobby Cox, manager of the Atlanta Braves, has only been manager of the year once. That was the first time that the Braves made it to the postseason in 1991. Since then, it's just kind of been a grand assumption that the Braves are good enough and strong enough. Sound like Stuart Smalley there.
And I like you.
And that's okay. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Andrew Jones. But take nothing away from Bobby Cox. He has had to manage, I mean truly manage this year. He's had 6 different second basemen, for example. And he picked the right one out of the hat today, huh? Keith Lockhart, a 3-run home run.
Bunch of injuries earlier in the season. Had a mix and match with that lineup. People don't give Bobby Cox a lot of credit because of the pitching staff that they have, which is a little bit unfair. 61 postseason wins does Bobby Cox have. That's the most in the history of the game, which surprised me when I read it, because I guess I just would have naturally assumed that Joe Torre had more wins, but it's Bobby Cox.
Doesn't have the flair maybe of some of his colleagues. Steve doesn't have the playing resume of, for example, the man in the other dugout. But what Bobby Cox has is 11 consecutive division titles in his pocket.
Well, we had so much fun today talking to both of those managers. Dusty was holding a clinic on how to be funny, and when Dusty Baker starts talking baseball and smiles, it doesn't get a whole lot better. It's a very loose Giants club.
It is nice to see Dusty smiling. There's all this conjecture about whether or not he's coming back next year, whether he will even be invited back next year. If Dusty leaves, what will they do with all those extra sweatbands and toothpicks?
They'll find more of them in a different color. Bobby Cox is a quietly funny guy. When we talked to him about the home run that Smoltz gave up to Bonds in Game 2.
Leadoff walk to Andrew Jones.
Smoltz had told me after the game, he said, hey, it was a meaningless home run. I don't even care that it happened. It might even be good for me later on if I have to face him again in another situation. Cox sort of looked at us and said, I cared that he gave it up, and started laughing.
Well, Bobby's not exactly Carrot Top, though. I mean, he's not this, you know.
No.
He's not going to go out there and try and make you laugh. And that's not to suggest that Dusty Baker is not taking this seriously. Dusty's career postseason managerial record is in danger of slipping to 2-9 with a loss this afternoon. Boy, of all the great comedians, went out there and got you Carrot Top.
Down the middle.
You know, Dusty Baker, I think the other thing that people don't always talk about, Syke, he has very willingly been the focus of this team the last several years, because he knows his 2 stars, Bonds and Kent, do not exactly hug the spotlight. They don't want that spotlight. It makes them uncomfortable. So you hear a lot of talk surrounding Dusty Baker. What's up with Dusty? What's Dusty thinking?
And it's a good deflection as you look at the two stars of that ball club, but he'll also be the first guy in line to credit his team. He really hates it over the last 4 or 5 seasons when people will say that this organization and this team has been a group of overachievers. He says, look at our numbers over the last few years. You don't overachieve for 4 or 5 years. You're just a good ball club.
Well, you throw out a couple of consecutive MVPs. Bonds will very likely win another one here in 02.
Should be unanimous.
One ball, 2 strikes to Castilla. Loops it into center field. Lofton locks it up. It was Castilla who would come through with the bases loaded single in the 6th inning. Keith Lockhart then came up and drilled the 3-run home run. Maybe Dusty doesn't want to see Lockhart up there again. He's on his way to the mound. There is action in the San Francisco bullpen. Pitching change coming. We'll tell you about the new San Francisco pitcher right after this. Fox NFL Sunday returns tomorrow. JB, Terry, Howie, and Jimmy get you ready for kickoff. Jimmy Johnson talks with Bucs head coach John Gruden, discussing life in Tampa Bay and dealing with Keyshawn. Plus, Pam Oliver visits with the Niners, talking about their showdown with the Rams. Fox NFL Sunday tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Double header action on tap for you. There will be baseball for you too. There's baseball for you right here, right now. Scott Ayers is on the mound. Keith Lockhart rammed a 3-run home run last time. He shows bunt right here. Scott Ayers was waived by Toronto in early August. They asked him to get lefties out. He couldn't do it consistently enough there. He has done it just fine here.
Dusty says he thanks him every day of the season for having him here.
Popped up bunt. And Lockhart is out. You saw the shot of Lockhart, and maybe an appropriate metaphor anyway, Steve. The guy literally from out of the shadows today to get it done for Atlanta. But the shadows could very much play a part in Game 4 tomorrow. They really have not yet today.
I'm wondering why they're bunting right there anyway. What's the point of that? Got an out at 6-2.
8 and 9 part of the order coming up here. But playing for 1. And now 2 down.
See it if it was in fact the pitcher up there. And the reason why Bobby Cox didn't get Keith Lockhart out of the lineup and pinch hit for him is because he loves his defense. He wants to leave him out there at second base. Let him hack. Just hit a 3-run homer for his last at bat.
The starting time of tomorrow's game, Steve, may well be about an hour from right now. And you see where the shadows are currently at a home plate. This will be a heightened situation if it is a late afternoon local time start tomorrow. Game time here tomorrow depends on whether or not the Yankees can come back and rally on the Angels.
It's not looking too likely.
No, but the Anaheim bullpen can just basically be the Anaheim bullpen the way they were during the regular season. That's going to be one long flight home for the New York Yankees.
Think George will make a deal on the plane?
Ground ball to short. If he's not throwing things around. Giants trailing by 4. Here they come in the 8th. The Division Series on Fox brought to you by Nissan and your Nissan dealer. By Subway, fresh made sandwiches on fresh baked bread. Subway, eat fresh. And by the people of Allstate. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not quite the home run Hankies of Minneapolis St. Paul. But the rally rags are waving here in San Francisco. Record crowd of 43,043 on hand today. The Giants trying to rally. It is 6-2 in game 3. Mike Remlinger, a $1.99 for the regular season ERA. Greg Maddux started, went 6, and it was Hammond for an inning. Now they ask Remlinger to clock in with an inning before turning it over perhaps to Smoltz. Dunston checks in. And Steve, if this guy walks, I will buy your dinner for a week.
Yeah, he's not walking. He's a hacking, especially in a pinch hitting role. If I see anything near the strike zone, I'm swinging.
Giants needing base runners, though. He takes a strike.
Of course, there's the shadows at home plate and the sun in left field that we talked about. This makes it tough. I'll tell you what, if you can catch a fly ball out of that twilight zone, good luck to you. That hurts my eyes looking into it, and I'm just looking at a monitor.
That spirograph you drew hurt my eyes.
Yeah.
Sean Dunston's last 400 games, Psycho, he has walked 13 times. Airs it out, 0-2. 3 walks this year, 2 walks last year for Dunston. He is taking on the former Dartmouth Big Green and a former San Francisco Giant, too.
Dunston's had a tough year offensively, had a little injury problems early on, got off to a real slow start, had come on in the second half, but boy, he talks a lot about how much more difficult it is to be a pinch hitter now than being an everyday player when he was a younger guy.
Steve Lyons is buying his own dinner, 1 down.
I doubt that. Find somebody to pick up the check.
You mooch. Lofton coming up next. You know, the hits are even in this game, 5 aside.
Some pretty big ones on the Braves side, though.
Couple of thunderclaps from Vinny Castilla and Keith Lockhart back to back. The first 2 pitches thrown by Manny Ibar. Jason Schmidt had thrown 104. And he had kept the game tied 1-1 against a man that was once his roommate in Atlanta, Greg Maddux.
All that talk of dinner, you're starting to make me hungry now. I might try to find a way to get. I play my cards right. I might get Uncle Rupert to pay for my dinner.
Uncle Rupert now.
Uncle Rupert Murdoch. Yep, he might be able to pay for it.
Lofton slicing one into the crowd. This isn't much of a restaurant town, is it, San Francisco?
No, there's no good food around here.
Check the Atlanta bullpen. There is the closer, John Smoltz. Not officially a save situation at this point, 6-2.
Well, he's still on the fence about whether or not he's a good closer or he wants to keep doing 55 saves later. Thinks it's kind of funny that he's getting all this attention now as a closer when he says, you know what? I was a pretty good pitcher before I started closing, wasn't I? I mean, aren't I just doing basically the same thing for a shorter period of time?
Now there's fame and fortune, though.
He wasn't hurting before.
No. Cy Young Award, 24-win season in '96. Remlinger, 3 balls and a strike to Lofton. Remember who's up after Lofton. You've got Aurelia, Kent, and Bonds.
Got to throw a strike here.
He does. The Giants' best shot to get back in this game, obviously, is to get Kent and/or Bonds to the plate with some damage to do. That means it's up to Lofton, then Aurelia, to finagle their way on base against Remlinger. And unless it's lost in the sun, that will not get it done. 2 down.
That's a nice job right there by Andruw Jones to come in and take that ball from Chipper Jones. He took it right from him in dead left field, and now Jones is going to laugh about it a little bit, but he has a better angle on the sun. The sun's coming right here. If he can come in this way and get an angle on the sun, it's a much easier catch for him than it is for Chipper Jones. And plus, with all the hoopla that we've heard about Chipper having a little trouble out there in left field with the sun, Jones, an accomplished outfielder, says, you know what? I'll take the pressure off you. I'll come over there and catch anything I can catch. And you know that Andrew just takes a lot of pleasure in laughing at Chipper after he comes over there and steals a fly ball from him.
That was the Kelly Leak approach.
Yeah.
Out of the Bad News Bears. Buttermaker told me any ball I can get to, I'm coming in front of you, Rudy Stein.
How about I take this one and let the crowd laugh at you for a few minutes?
1 ball, 1 strike to Aurelia. The Kent and Bond show begins if Aurelia gets on base here. Again, one of the storylines in this series, while Sheffield has been very quiet, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, a lot of the big boppers really on both sides. The bottom feeders, the guys near the bottom of the order, have been getting very big base hits. Nowhere was that more evident in this series in the 6th inning today. Castilla, bases loaded single. Lockhart, Keith Lockhart, the 3-run home run. And Aurelia punching it in the air to right. The Kent and Bonds experience will have to be the startup act in the 9th. Still 6-2 Atlanta. Maybe the most beautiful backdrop for baseball right here in San Francisco, where Game 3 of the National League Division Series has tilted in favor of the visiting Atlanta Braves. It is 6-2 into the 9th. New pitcher, new batter. To tell you about, Tim Worrell is on the mound.
Worrell, great year with all the appearances and the job that he did for this team.
Best of his 10 big league seasons was 2002. Matt Franco greets him with a fly ball to left center. Battling the glare of the sun, it's Kenny Lofton for the first out. And a reminder that October's magical matchups continue tomorrow, where if necessary it's the Angels and Yankees going back to the Bronx. If the Angels hold on and make that a moot point, you'll see Game 4 between the Braves and the Giants here on Fox tomorrow. The road to the World Series continuing at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, following exciting NFL doubleheader action right here on Fox. For a call, trying to bunch his way on. Worrell safe the call. Rafael for a call. The spark atop the order. Remember, he had the triple in the 3rd inning to score the first Atlanta run of the day. 1 out bunt single here in the 9th.
This is unbelievable speed, because this is not a great bunt. Worrell gets over to field it. Watch where he fields it, and look where Furcal is. He's only halfway, but then he just flies the back half of the line. Boy, that should be an easy out. That is flying. Get on your horse.
It's like that makes Furcal 5 for 14 in this series. Remember, last year he missed the playoffs. He was hurt. And 2 years ago he was 1 for 11 for Atlanta as the Braves were swept away by St. Louis.
Now, he's supposed to be one of the differences when he got back healthy and they added Sheff to the lineup. He had a table setter and a big bopper. As we talked about before, offense was the big problem in the playoffs for this Braves teams. They didn't score enough runs.
The Braves catalysts in this series have been the Julio Francos, the Rafael Furcals, Castilla, Lockhart, Lopez, DeRosa. We have not mentioned the Jones. We have not mentioned Gary Sheffield. Game 4 tomorrow will have Tom Glavine for the Braves. Certainly battle tested against Livan Hernandez. Hernandez 5-0 in his career in the postseason. in there at 89 miles an hour.
There's your starters right there. Livan Hernandez smiling about his 5-0 career record there in the playoffs. Tommy Glavine trying to smile after the outing that he had in game 1. Kirk Reeder, game 2 starter for the Giants, had a tough time.
Boy, it's easy to see where the epicenters of interest will be tomorrow. Here in the Bay Area, we've talked about the 49ers. It's going to be the A's. It's going to be the Giants. And back in St. Louis, they'll be watching on to see if the Rams can get up off the mat against the Niners. And potentially, you've got the Cardinals and Diamondbacks there. All the sports now concentrated to 2 geographic areas, at least for tomorrow.
And the month of October sees more sports on the Fox network than any other network for the month.
And you are living large here in the Bay Area if indeed the Angels hang on and beat the Yankees today.
There's the light towers. Where is that? That's another stadium.
That's
just
Oakland
across the
Coliseum,
bay, isn't it?
That's where
you got it.
You will have the Twins and the A's at the net.
Network Associates. Remember when it used to be called Oakland Alameda County Coliseum?
That's before they put in Mount Davis and
that was a name so big you could never fit it on a t-shirt.
as opposed to, say, Doug Mientkiewicz, who will be there for Minnesota tomorrow. Ron Kulpa, we talked about him celebrating his 34th birthday today. Happy birthday, Ron.
Beep. Thank you very much. Nice smelling you. He'll be eating his dinner through a straw tonight.
Ron Kulpa flew his dad in from St. Louis to be here to see his first ever playoff plate assignment.
Maybe they could blend up his chocolate birthday cake and let him feed it to him through a straw after that.
It's the best pizza in a cup he's ever had.
Boy, he acted like a mosquito landed on him, too. It's a tough guy. I'm not kidding you. Taking one off the noggin like that hurts. I don't care if you have a mask on. Rattles your jaw.
We asked Kulpa before the game, if this is your 34th birthday, that means that your dad, big-time Cardinal fan, had to choose between being there for your birth and watching the Cardinals and Tigers in the World Series that day. Ron Kulpa wondered where his dad was exactly, delivery room or watching TV.
Hey, you're so young at that point, you don't really remember. If you're the dad, you can say anything you want. Let's listen to his brain get rattled here again.
Happy birthday, Ron Kulpa.
That's so much fun for us, but I don't think he likes it that much.
Oh, we could sit up here and show that 9-10 more times. Doesn't hurt us. And again, if it is a late afternoon starting time tomorrow, that's predicated on the Angel-Yankee finish. You're getting a sneak peek at the shadow situation for tomorrow.
And of course, in baseball, it's rare that the shadows come from the other side, but I really believe it's much tougher to hit when the hitter is in the shadow rather than when the shadows do come from the other side and the hitter's in the brightness. The bright background that you have to look through behind the pitcher is tougher to pick up than if he was in a shadow and you as a hitter were in the bright sunlight.
Runner goes, bouncing ball past the mound, knocked down by Kent, and from one knee, too late to get the ageless Julio Franco. Two on, one out.
This is still a nice effort by Jeff Kent. He had a little trouble getting up. He couldn't pop up as quick as he'd like to. It looked like his glove hand almost got stuck underneath him after he made the play and then wasn't able to get up and make the throw. Great catch. See his glove hand kind of get tangled up behind him. Tried to get the throw from one knee, but Franco still runs pretty good for a 90-year-old.
Boy, and Kent's been taking it off every conceivable body part here today. He was hit in the helmet, remember, earlier on the pitch from Greg Maddux that got away.
After the game, he'll ice everything but his glove.
Well, Gary Sheffield at the plate. And here's how it shakes out for the Braves right now, Steve. Sheffield and Chipper Jones have combined for only 3 hits in this series so far, yet they're in a great position. I mean, if you were to have told Bobby Cox, all right, Sheffield and Jones are going to go a combined 3 for 20, but you're going to be up 2-1. I think Bobby takes that.
And I'll tell you what, this is the type of pitcher in Tim Worrell that Sheffield doesn't mind at all hitting against. He could wake up in a hurry right here.
Sheffield did get Tim Worrell earlier. The one home run that he has in this series was a blast off this particular individual.
We talk about quick bats. We talk a lot about Barry Bonds. Sheffield, one of the quickest right-handed swings in the game. 2 guys on this team that have tremendously strong lower arms from the elbow to the wrist. Franco, the strength that he has and able to hold that ball up over the bat up over his head, and Gary Sheffield to be able to control the bat the way he wags it around so much and then get the bat through the hitting zone.
He has walked for the 3rd time today. Bunt, single, infield a hit, and now the walk to get it to Chipper Jones. Well, the Braves look to rip the roof right off it here in the 9th inning. Dusty Baker to the mound. And he is going to make a change. Chipper Jones will be the batter when we come back to San Francisco. Don't blame me if you don't want to be Aaron Foltz right now. Bases loaded. Chipper Jones at the plate. Giants already trailing this game 6-2 in the 9th inning. There's just 1 out.
This is kind of a setup confrontation between these 2 guys. Dusty Baker said this is the one guy that he would really use to bring in against Chipper Jones. For one, to put him on the other side of the plate where he doesn't have quite as much power, and for 2, Jones owns everybody else in the pen. So this is the one guy that might be able to get him out.
Yeah, Dusty was looking at those stat sheets along with us when we met with him today. It was pretty much agreed upon. Chipper Jones just destroys every San Francisco Giant pitcher. But Foltz 2 times against him, and Chipper's 0 for 2. Small sample size.
Yes, it is.
Shot ball grabbed by Bill. Can't get it away. Safe. And a run is in. Boy, you were looking for the ground ball, hoping for the double play. He got the first part, didn't get the last part as Bill had it stick in the glove.
That was a tough play because he had to jump so high for it. I think he started to lose it when he came down and hit the ground. When his foot hit the ground, it jarred the ball loose, and then he couldn't find the handle on it. Good range to his left, coming down. There you see the little snow cone, couldn't get it out. Boy, there's some guys in the Braves bullpen right now yelling at him saying, hey, wait till dark and sneak up on it.
They still can't get Chipper even when it looks like they've gotten him. 7-2. (7-2) ball game, and the bases are loaded. The infield is in as Rob Nen is into the game. There is no one else left in that San Francisco bullpen now. 1963 Dodgers, Steve, needed 4 pitchers to get through an entire World Series. Dusty Baker's used 6 pitchers in 4 innings. Andrew Jones cranks it into center field. It's a base hit. 2 more runs have been chased home, and the Atlanta Braves are looking like they're going to go up 2 games to 1. Boy, even when you go get Rob Nen, it seems that whoever first dips their toe in the water against the Atlanta Braves today, they are not doing real well.
Such a different atmosphere around Pac-Bell Park when Rob Nen comes in a save situation with the loud music, smoke on the water. Everyone's up and cheering, but in this situation, a lot of people just sitting on their hands, not a lot to cheer for.
Vinny Castilla ropes one to left. That ends a stretch of 5 consecutive men that had reached for the Atlanta Braves. And we talked about the exact same thing, Steve, back in the 6th. After 1 out, 5 consecutive base runners in a big inning for Atlanta. Same thing here in the 9th.
Andruw Jones is not the guy in this lineup that you want to wake up either. As you had mentioned before, big guns haven't been swinging the bats all that well for the Braves. Boy, you give up a base hit late in the game and let him drive in a couple. That'll wake you up for the future games.
Well, that's the thing. The Lions and Tigers are starting to bite down on this San Francisco Giant team right now. And it was just the nits and the gnats like Keith Lockhart that have been getting it done.
All they have to do is add the Bears. Oh, my.
Oh, my. Let's check your local listings tomorrow. Now, that's the thing about the Braves. You had a pretty good hunch that eventually in this series you would get the production from Sheffield and the 2 Joneses. And now apparently that has arrived late in the day today. But the Castillas and the Lockharts and the rest. Lockhart does it again. Center field looking for a 4 RBI afternoon, and he's got it. He didn't have one of those all during the regular season. And here he is today in Game 3 of the division series to give the Braves an 8-run lead.
We see it so many times as Dusty comes back to check on Rob Nen, as the closers so many times, if they're not in a closing situation, just don't come in with the same mental attitude or the same stuff. And Dusty's getting Nen out of there.
Jay Wojtaszek is the last Giant who can come on in. 10-2 ball game. The 8th San Francisco pitcher of the afternoon is Jay Wojtaszek, and he faces Henry Blanco. As now the Braves have batted around in the top of the 9th inning. They are running away from the Giants in Game 3. Jason Schmidt started this game for San Francisco. We were talking glowingly about him, Steve Lyons, for good reason. He had retired 10 in a row heading into the 6th inning. And you figured, well, all right, Jason Schmidt maybe gives a Giants 7 today. You turn it over to that vaunted bullpen. That did not work out. Keith Lockhart, a 4 RBI day.
Well, of the 8 pitchers that San Francisco used, Schmidt was clearly the best. Lost it there in the 6th by walking 3 guys in a row, and of course he was responsible for all those runs when they got driven in by Castilla and Lockhart.
Game 2, Steve, the Giants bullpen, 5 innings of 1 hit shutout ball. Game 3 has been nowhere close to Game 2. And the thing about Keith Lockhart, you started to bring it up. You know, Keith Lockhart was told by the Atlanta front office this past winter he probably would not be needed for 2002. There was almost a mutual parting of the ways. Then they changed their minds. The Braves said, you know what, maybe we do have room for a 37 turning 38-year-old lefty. He has been a very useful part today.
The Braves are very loyal to guys that have been in the organization, on the team in the past, that are utility type players that they get to know and they like. They don't change them. They know what they're going to get from Keith Lockhart. They're happy with that type of production off the bench. Mark Lemke was a guy like that in the organization, not a utility player, but they fell in love with Lemke after a great playoff series early in the 90s.
One of the first questions Bobby Cox heard today, why Lockhart instead of DeRosa? DeRosa had the double and the triple in Game 2. And it wasn't an arrogant answer, just a confident one, saying, I like Keith Lockhart today. Good call. Big part of the day. Barry Bonds will bat. Giants need 8 just to tie. 10-2, the Braves lead the Giants as we go to the bottom of the 9th. This is Game 3. And looking pretty dire right now for San Francisco. They had a record crowd announced here. 43,000 plus. It is not Smoltz anymore. You don't need him. It's 10-2. It's Kevin Grabowski instead. And the Giants will be looking to Livan Hernandez tomorrow. You know, no one seems to know if Dusty Baker will be back next year, Steve, or Jeff Kent for that matter. You look at Darren Bragg in the Atlanta outfield. Atlanta ponders a future potentially without Glavine or Maddox. And you can make the case that for both of these franchises, a window of opportunity is sliding slowly shut, at least with what they have intact.
Little feeling of desperation as some of the star players start to get a little bit older. And the numbers that you have to pay them continues to skyrocket. Can you afford to sign Glavine and Maddox? And can the Giants afford to sign Jeff Kent?
Jeff Kent spreading around some misery as he pegs one off of Henry Blanco. Kent has been feeling it today too.
That's a very scary moment. And as soon as you saw Kent start to argue, you knew he was okay. Then diving for the ball and trying to come up with a play. That's all right. You know Kent's one of those guys that just doesn't think he played a good game unless he's bruised and bleeding.
Sawed off here and a foul ball.
And now his fingers are stinging.
Yeah. Little sampler platter of injuries for Jeff Kent today. Barry Bonds, I guess just to kind of take a snapshot of the whole season for him, Steve, appropriately today, an intentional walk and a home run.
If you counted on every guy in your lineup to account for one run by themselves, score at least 9 runs every day, you'd win a lot of ball games. Bonds did his job.
One down, 9th inning. Barry Bonds coming up. Now we talk about Dusty Baker, and he's in danger of having his postseason record dipped to 2 wins, 9 losses. Barry Bonds, maybe his best chance to move forward in a playoff series was against the Braves 10 years ago. It was his throw from left field trying to cut down Sid Bream in the bottom of the 9th. Bream beat the tag. Who knew then that 10 years later we'd still be talking about Barry Bonds being winless in a playoff series? One ball, 1 strike, the count to him.
How many people would actually take that pitch right there that Barry Bonds just saw right down the middle? Barry likes to see what you've got. What are you going to throw me?
Into the teeth of the shift. Barry Bonds is out. Barry Bonds almost 10 years ago to the day. Game 7 NLCS of Francisco Cabrera, 2 out, 2-run single. Braves had trailed 2-0 going into the bottom of the 9th. The Giants will trail 2 games to 1 going into game 4 tomorrow. If they don't get it done, Barry Bonds walks off the field feeling a lot like that.
Of course, where is Francisco Cabrera now? Where is Sid Bream these days? But did you notice the guy who jumped right on Sid Bream's back when he scored right there? Of course, still in the playoffs for the Oakland A's, David Justice. The guy that's in the playoffs for 11 straight seasons as well.
So the Swallows returning to Capistrano. Dave Justice is in the playoffs.
I'm like the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. I'm signing Justice next year.
Actually, Justice in the playoffs. We don't know that he's moving on yet. The A's and the Twins will have a game 5. Our all-state good hands defensive play of this game. And it seemed like a big play at the time. First inning. Keeping it scoreless, David Bell. But the ineffectiveness of the San Francisco bullpen has kind of rendered that play a moot play today. Down too low, 2 balls, 1 strike to Santiago. Remember, the Giants were an 8-5 winner in game 1. The Braves stormed back in game 2. San Francisco poured it on today with a 5-run 6th and a 4-run 9th. Game 4 tomorrow. Inside corner.
Santiago has to use this at bat right here to get back to the stroke that he had in the first 2 ball games. Very, very similar in the way he approaches his at bats to Julio Franco. Likes to hit the ball the other way, straight over the second baseman's head. Today he's been unable to do that. He can use this at bat for tomorrow.
Don't forget to be checking your local listings tomorrow. There are still various possibilities, although if the Angels do hang on against the Yankees, you will see game 4 on Fox tomorrow between the Braves and the Giants. Thanks very much to FX today. This game out on the FX cable waves this afternoon. And a fly ball, shallow right center field, will officially make it 2-1 in favor of the Atlanta Braves. And Steve, Barry Bonds ever closer to another first-round exit.
Turning point in this game to me was pitch selection for Manny Ibauer when he came into the game and threw a first pitch fastball to both Vinny Castilla for a 2-run single and a first pitch fastball to Keith Lockhart for a 3-run jack. He made the big difference after Jason Schmidt had done a pretty good job up until that point.
We started talking about the stars for good reason. The Maddoxes, the Bonds. The hero was Keith Lockhart. We invite you to go to foxsports.com for more information. For Steve Lyons, Josh Lewin, so long from San Francisco. Again, your final 10-2 Atlanta as we take you to Jeannie Zelasco and Kevin Kennedy there in the Fox Network Center.
Gentlemen, thank you. Finally, a little October magic for Greg Maddux. But first, the Contraction Kids have forced a Game 5. It was a reality by the end of the 4th inning. Costly throwing error by Oakland's Miguel Tejada. A couple of wild pitches, several key hits by Twins, and 7 runs scored. And how about Atlanta taking a 2-1 series lead, Kevin, with the little guys doing it?
The little guys did it. Castilla didn't have a great year. He had a nice big base hit. Lockhart, the 3-run home run. And, of course, as we talk about the Braves, those 10 runs putting on the board. Last year, they didn't score runs in the playoffs. That's where they got Gary Sheffield. The presence around him helped a lot. Even though he didn't get a base hit, they walked him, started off the big inning.
All right, we'll take you back to the Yankees score. We're watching the defending American League champs maybe go down in defeat. We could see the Diamondbacks going out that way as well a little later on this afternoon.
Could the Twins be playing and not the Yankees
Wow.
longer in postseason? The Contraction Kids, the Minnesota Twins, possibly with a Game 5 tomorrow. But the Yankees, I didn't see a sense of urgency. I talked about it in the post-game, pregame show. I just didn't see the confidence, and today they showed that. Soriano made some mistakes. Bernie Williams and Soriano converging. That ball's got to be caught in center field by a Gold Glover, Bernie Williams, coming in. Big difference in the ball game. 8-run inning there in the 5th, and the Yankees just did not deserve it. The Angels, base running, completely outplayed these guys and swung the bat. A lot of heart. The rally monkey continues to work.
Yes, it does. And if you are a sports fan, Fox Sports continues to work for you tomorrow. It is the place to be. October's magical matchups continue with the Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, beginning with America's #1 pregame show. Then Michael Strahan's Giants look to slow down Emmitt Smith and the rival Cowboys, followed by Donovan McNabb's Eagles battling Fred Taylor and the Jaguars or other regional action. Coverage begins at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox. But wait, there's more, like baseball as a nightcap, still to be determined. Find out with the rest of us who it will be. Turn to your local Fox affiliate right now. Right now, or wait a moment at least.
Couple of outs left. Never know.
Kevin and I to say goodbye. The Anaheim Angels ready to shock the world. For Kevin Kennedy, I'm Jeannie Zelasco, and we will see you tomorrow night on Fox.